committee meeting of the Public Works and Planning. Welcome everyone, and welcome back to room 201.
205.
205, sure, it's been a while. And welcome Commissioner Don.
Thank you.
Rachel, if you will do roll call, we will commence with the business.
It's really gonna rain.
Mr. Blair?
Here.
Mr. Dodd?
Here.
Mr. Harris?
Here.
Mr. Piercy?
Here.
Mr. King?
Here.
Mr. Sherino?
Yes.
Chairman Pierce?
Yes.
We have four.
Thank you. Do we have minutes to approve?
We do, and they are on SharePoint.
Fantastic. May I call on Vice Chair Piercy to approve the minutes?
Chairman Bush, I have reviewed the minutes and seem to find them in order. I move for their approval.
All right. Need a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion carries. The Ben Lomond franchise agreement. Mayor, is that your report, or is that Rachel's report?
I can give you an update on
Okay.
that. Ben Lomond had been looking to get access to lay fiber in the Milton area and Commissioner Piercy's district for some time, and I think they changed position to whoever the marketing person was, and it went to our previous county attorney, and nothing ever happened. So when this new lady from Ben Lomond sent me a notice, I got it over to Nick. Nick looked through the agreement for us to sign off on, which would give permission for them to expand into the northern end of our county. You know, if they're willing to put their assets into it and bring us broadband into the northern end of the county, I'm all for it.
Okay. All right. Has Nick and the Lomond Group finalized their contract?
They have not, because I think they were kind of wanting us to sign off to do it for free. But he's looking at what United is doing in Eagleville, what I think you've got
DTC over my area.
DTC, they pay the county, so I'm not, and I think there's one in Laverne that has fiber. TDS, they have fiber, and then of course the others pay a fee
All right.
back to the county. So we'll pitch whatever's fair and whatever all the other utilities are doing.
All right. So is it likely that our county attorney will have this completed by the next full commission meeting?
A week from Thursday. I don't know that.
Well, I guess where I'm going is, should we just take this under review at this point?
I would take it under advisement. We'll just take it as notice,
Okay.
and until we actually get the contract. I'd like for you to actually have the opportunity to read the contract and then vote on it.
All right. Very good. So we will just then take this under advisement.
Rachel, you haven't found anything else coming from
There is a draft on
the draft is
SharePoint.
on there?
Yeah, there is a 15-pager.
Per conversation with Nick today, he says, of course, they're still reviewing between the legal parties, and if necessary, they possibly could get a franchise agreement by the full commission. So if you wanted to approve it subject to review by county attorney,
By
but
legal.
if you wanted to just leave it as a
Okay.
review, it's up to you.
I've got a question. When you do a franchise agreement, are you saying that they are exclusive, the only ones that could put wire in that area?
In
Yeah,
that particular territory.
I think they all respect each other. Usually in a rural area, they're not going to come in and lay it on somebody else, but you make a good point. If somebody wants the ability to go down that road, and it's in that designated territory, they should have the right to do that, right?
Right. The problem I've got is, for instance, DTC is my phone cooperative. It just catches a little corner of Rutherford County where I live, and Middle Tennessee Electric, is doing a lot of it. But if you had those two pitted against each other, I think you might come up with some better rates or get it done cheaper. So I'm thinking, well, can we do that? I don't know if there's rules set out by federal government on this or state where we can or can't let different people cross those zones, but to me,
It says here that you can't, it's not exclusive.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't give them full rights on everything.
So anybody can go with
Yes.
the others. Now, I think what DTC and Middle Tennessee Electric, and I may be wrong on this, but I don't think so. I think they've got a gentleman's agreement between them. It's, okay, here's your area, here's our area, and we won't cross. But they're actually helping each other. So I think, they've got cooperation between the two going. How much that's helping people that are paying the cost on it, I don't know.
I think the mission of the broadband industry is just to be able for everybody throughout the county to have access to broadband.
Yeah, the General Assembly just passed a huge bill. It's gonna throw a lot more money, and there's federal money coming on broadband expansion also. So, and this is, appears to be a 10-year franchise agreement.
But I agree with the chairman that competition will help our constituency.
Sure. Well, Mr. Chairman, why don't we send it back to Nick and see if he can get this details worked out, and then be prepared to give a report to full commission for you.
That's fine. Everybody okay with that? All right. That doesn't require a vote, does it?
Need to be under advisement.
Okay, well, let's take it under advisement. All right. There is no highway department report. Tanya, would you like to enlighten us on the growth over the last 30 days?
I would. Okay, so for the month of April, building codes issued a total of 460 permits. 87 of those were single-family dwellings, which is down a little bit from last month, but up a little bit from this time last year. And I would like to point out that single-family dwellings are currently at 889 for the current fiscal year, 10 months out of the current fiscal year. So we've already surpassed what we did total last fiscal year. Our total last fiscal year was 858. We had for a total revenue of 154,243. Total inspections, a little over 1,800 with almost 10,000 miles driven. I know I give you guys kind of the same numbers every month. If there's anything specific that anybody ever wants to know, or you would like me to research or come up with, or I'd be glad to do that. So if there's anything, more in depth that anybody wants to get with our inspections or our permits or anything like that, I'd be glad to provide that in the future, not tonight. All right, and if nobody has any questions?
Do you have perhaps a column or cell that has square footage of the
I
single-family
could certainly do
dwellings?
that, yeah.
That'll start making a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, now that that could,
I think that should be on there every month.
Okay,
just add the cell with wherever.
gotcha. We do that.
I have a feeling it's just
Like an
there.
average
It's
square,
hidden right there.
kind of average square footage?
Probably,
or-
yeah, probably, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. Total square,
no
yeah.
problem.
Total or average, either one.
Okay.
It'll be on the permit, right, when they pull it?
It will be on the permit. Yes, our fees are based on square footage, so we do record that.
I think perhaps you've got total permits, and you've got total permit fee
Yeah.
revenue, then perhaps a total square footage would be
Yeah,
easier.
this report has looked the same as long, I've been with building codes for 21 years, and the report's looked
That's
exactly the
David
same for
Jones's
21
report.
years, so that's why I was asking. If there's anything else you would like to see,
Feel free
let
to
me
make it,
know.
feel free
Yeah.
to make it your own.
Okay. All right, if nobody has any questions, development tax was $555,000 this month, for a total of 5.3 million so far this fiscal year.
Is that up or down from last year?
It's
That
up.
is,
I mean, I know it's on here, I just can't see it.
it's
It's up
up.
a bunch.
This time last year was 262.5.
What's your estimated year end on that? Do you have an estimate?
Well, that is, if we keep continuing with the collecting the development tax we've got right now, and there's no changes, Last year, we collected a little over 6 million. I anticipate that we'll probably tip that just a little bit. Our single-family dwellings, both in the city and Rutherford County and Smyrna, are all on the rise. So they're all seeing numbers that they haven't seen before. So everybody's seeing record numbers. All right, and for zoning enforcement, we had a total of 224 inspections.
So you're seeing record numbers, but we're not seeing record development tax income. I know this month was significantly higher than last month, and that's the first, looking back, we've been up and down, so.
Right.
Where are we seeing record numbers of lots?
We're seeing record numbers of permits being issued. However, the development tax that we're collecting is typically the latter part of the $1,500 development tax fee. So we're not seeing the $1,500, the first $1,500, or excuse me, the first $750.
Yes, got it. This is the developer payments. No, you're seeing both here.
Yeah, you're seeing both. You are, but just because the numbers of single-family dwellings goes up doesn't mean that the development tax goes up.
Because you're just getting the first part
Yeah.
for a lot of it.
Yeah.
Well, the first part was collected when the plat was recorded,
Got it.
so we're seeing
Got
the last 750. So while it makes, a little
Okay, I
bit,
understand.
$750 for 20 permits is not that much.
Yeah.
It doesn't make a significant amount of difference.
Agreed. Thanks, Chairman. I'm good.
All right, you're getting ready to get into your budget transfer, right?
Yes.
So I need a motion to approve her reports.
So moved.
Second.
All right.
All right, and I have a very small budget amendment. I'm sorry.
Do we need to,
You can do this.
so we're not really spending any
It's
money?
not money.
So
On this one, we'll do a roll call. On the budget.
Yeah, just a roll call. Okay.
So a very small budget transfer to finish out the rest of the year for our part-time employees. We had a little bit extra in deputies and clerical line items, so we were able to cover it in our staff line items. And the total amount was for $5,150
Okay.
to be split between deputies and clerical.
Motion to approve.
Second. All right. Roll call?
Commissioner Dolan?
Yes.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Cerino?
Yes.
Commissioner Blair?
Yes.
Chairman Cush?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Can I say one more thing? Yep.
You have the floor.
It's gonna be, these next months, dealing with the dollar per square foot, so there's gonna be a lot of information we're gonna need. So I just wanna prepare you for that. So as far as single family and multifamily, I'm gonna ask that we get square footage and all that,
Got it.
City and county, I mean, everything.
everything.
So the square footage from the municipalities is going to be hard to acquire because they don't track it like we do. I'm not sure how they do their building permits, but in the past when I did this, the numbers for you guys when you were looking at the dollar square foot at the beginning of the year, and I called the municipalities, they weren't able to give me total square footage. The city of Murfreesboro calculates their permits a little bit differently than we do. They calculate the total square footage and then back out the garage and expandable area, and they do it different. Ours is straight square footage. We do it per square foot, period. We're the only jurisdiction that does that.
Is garage
So
included?
In ours?
Yes.
It's at a different rate. It is
Okay.
included, but it's at a different rate than the heated and cooled conditioned area. So square footage might be, that's the reason when I gave you those numbers at the beginning of the year, I took Rutherford County's square footage and I come up with an average square footage, assuming that that was likely the same throughout Rutherford County. So I took the number of single-family dwellings that they issued in the city, which was accurate, and multiplied those by the average square footage that I got in Rutherford County, assuming that, I'm sure it differs slightly, but it was as close as I could come.
So when you're actually collecting those, how do you go about that? You're getting the actual plan and charging it that way?
Well,
by the
with-
square footage and the. or-
Currently, it doesn't matter because we just charge $1,500 per unit. It will matter when we get, and I have talked to the building codes directors of each of the jurisdictions, and everybody's been very cooperative and willing to provide how I envision it happening is they would submit a floor plan to us and an application form with the heated and cooled square footage. We would then take those two documents and compare them and ensure that the square footage is the same as what's on their application. We would then create an invoice for them that we would charge 50% upfront and leave a balance due of the other 50%. I have talked to the other building codes directors, and we have talked about the final inspection, what that would look like if there was a difference in square footage from what they proposed at the beginning. If they got to the final inspection and added 300 square feet, changed walls, moved, finished expandable areas, finished attic areas that wasn't initially planned. So they've all agreed that they would ask their inspectors to, keep an eye on what was what was permitted, and then what was actually built.
This is this is going to be a big deal. So my question to you is, you turned in your budget, or do you need to adjust your budget for people to, to hire more people for this process? Because it's going to be
right.
pretty intense.
I don't think so.
Okay.
My budget includes moving one of my clerical personnel to full-time doing this. This is all she would do. And then I was going to bring the 2 part-timers that I have on full-time to cover the duties that she was doing.
That's in our budget.
So you prepared. So you're prepared for this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Excellent.
Good job.
For those of you who have checked your mailbox down below in the file cabinet, or those of you who have not, you will see the history of the Senate and the House bill regarding this development tax. And you'll see the dates that began in February 11th and February 10th, both on the Senate and House side. And it tracks the progression of the bill by Senator Reeves and Representative Baum. And then on 4/22, laid on the governor's desk for signature, which it was signed. And then, Craig, you just told me last night that there was a little snafu on the date of execution of this development tax, but it's March of 22?
Yeah,
right?
well, we talked to the county attorney. What is talked to the county. We had some dealing with the Private Act. We had a motion on that, and we had a little problem on that, but we feel like we got it straightened up with the county attorney. We should be able to implement this on July 1st now. I had said
okay.
March 22, but I believe we got things worked out and we'll be able to implement this in July.
Correct.
Of this year?
Yes, this year, yes, sir.
So
Fantastic.
fiscal year,
This is
Fiscal year
coming,
21,
yeah.
22.
would you guys, do you think we'll be ready to collect it? You and I have spoken briefly about, you've got a scenario of how to collaborate in addition to that conversation about footage with
So this is something
with the
we've been
cities.
thinking about and kind of preparing towards since January.
Okay.
I mean, we
And we're
anticipated
grandfathering
this.
everyone. That was the deal. We grandfather everybody that's in the hopper now.
Right, so the available lot inventory is looking, Doug will be able to give you a better number when he comes up, but the available lot inventory in Rutherford County has been hovering right around 800. The city of Murfreesboro has been hovering around 700. Thomas Myrna and city of Laverne, I don't know, but I would say they're significantly less than what we've got. So there's 1,800 lots in Rutherford County that are already committed the first 750 development tax that we're going to grandfather in. So when they come in to build on those lots, we will just collect the remaining 750. So this will only apply to new construction homes that are permitted after July 1st I'm sorry, I said that wrong. That will come in that have not previously paid the first 750. Does that make any sense?
I just want to say to everyone, including Doug, we'll send this to planning. Congratulations, everyone. Tanya, congratulations. And to Jeff Phillips, I want to thank him again for his many years of bird dogging and due diligence of trying to get our legislative bodies to at least acknowledge the fact that we had our backs to the wall with no place to go. It wasn't until well, I won't say that was the only reason. Until the infrastructure committee met with the builders and the realtors in this room multiple times. At that point, I felt we had all come to a consensus and agreed that something had to be done. It wasn't that us versus them, their lobbyists versus us kind of the mentality anymore. I think we all got the joke that we were in trouble. So pat on the back to everybody and congratulations. This is one tool for our toolbox. Infrastructure committee will regroup after budget and look for other solutions that will help us even further down the road. So congratulations to everybody. Thank you. Tanya, thank you for your report.
You're welcome.
All right.
Everybody have a good evening.
Thanks. Doug, how about planning and engineering?
Yes, sir. Good evening, everyone.
Hello.
All right. Just to kind of continue the conversation with what Tanya was just talking about, brought the available lot inventory. She's right about the available lots in Rutherford County. You have that report on your iPads. We are hovering around 800, 783. That was almost unchanged from last month. I think it went up a couple. Quite a bit of activity as far as new building permits, but we also had some plats recorded, larger sections. So kind of makes up the difference just a little bit.
800 lots that are platted and permit ready.
Correct.
Half of the development tax has been paid.
That is correct. Yes. You will notice, of course, as I've said before, this report's broken into two different sections. First report, part of it is the recorded lots. The second, the last 3 pages basically, are those that are not recorded. They're in the pipeline somewhere. That's been hovering around 4,000 for quite some time. You'll notice this month that it went up to, or I should say last month, it went up to a little over 5,000. The reason being for that is the Del Webb community over on Franklin Road was approved by the Planning Commission preliminarily. So that means their master plan was approved, and that was over 1,100 lots. So that just gives you an idea. Now they have to go through construction drawings and everything. They're not going to record all those at one time. That's going to be over several years. But that just wanted to point out the discrepancy there because, like I said, been hovering around 4,000 lots for a while, and all of a sudden it went to 5,000. I figured that would raise an eyebrow or two. So,
Does it depend on where the subdivision is located as to how quickly it builds out? Or is there just basically an average time that a
Location,
is on the side?
location.
I
Well,
won't say it doesn't play any part, but a lot of it's market driven, what type of product they're selling. Like that Del Webb community, that's going to be 55 and up, not as big a yards, community maintenance as far as the yards and everything. That'll attract a different clientele than just a market subdivision that's larger lot yards and
Del
kids.
Webb will attract from all over the country for people who get ready to age out or get into that 55 and up.
Right.
They look for those locations because of the lifestyle.
How many
Is
lots?
that part of that 1,100?
1,100
lots.
Yeah, all of those are going to be 55 and up. Yeah.
And they probably average 150 a year?
No, you mean 150
Build.
what?
Oh,
Perhaps.
Well, yeah, they have a pretty aggressive schedule when they want to get moving forward on their
That's
sections.
aggressive.
They're talking a couple hundred per section,
Yeah.
which that's
With
that's
the-
pretty big.
It's very big.
Yeah.
But get this, and I'm going from memory, which, as you all know, is very scary. So Doug, back me up. I want to say they told us at planning that the average home at the Del Webb community is over $400,000.
That sounds about right. I don't remember exactly, but I
For
remember that number being.
for a 55 and up community.
So,
And what was the average square footage?
they have 3 different products,
Yeah.
and yeah, there's 3. And honestly, Commissioner, I don't remember what those were, what the exact.
Do you remember it was like 2,500 to 3,000?
We took a tour of the one in Spring Hill.
They're all kind of, but they're really nice
The-
design.
I think that there's a logistical and physical limit to how many lots a group can produce. So if they're going to push and 200 lots per section's huge for our market. The local guys could do anywhere from 25 to 50.
Right.
We've done 105, we've done 170 something, but that was an anomaly. So there's just a limit to we can only.
200 is very aggressive.
Yeah, there's 5,000 lots in the hopper that have
very
had
aggressive.
preliminary, have had rezoning, but not necessarily construction plans approved.
Yeah, these
And it'll
preliminary
take
ones,
years
right,
to put 5,000 lots on the ground. And we've, this 800 number, it's as if we can get about 800 lots out there all the time. You're seeing 800 lots a month permitted. That number remains relatively static.
Right, for the last several months, it's kind of hovered in that area. I mean, it has its dips and, peaks and valleys and whatnot, but
And
the
there's
last
just,
several months it's been around
there's
that.
just so much excavator, contractors that can produce.
Material.
And I think this, we're gonna hover around 800 lots, always coming on the market. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does right now.
Yeah, when we were at
Foreseeable future.
a few years ago, at the height of the building, after the recession hit and everything, of course, we had topped out. Of course, we haven't tracked this forever, but when we started tracking it, the highest it got was about 16, almost 1,700 lots on the ground. And that was just in the county,
That were
unincorporated.
permitted.
Correct.
pathway,
Yeah. After the recession eased and we started seeing all these subdivisions coming back online, that number actually dipped below 600 for a little bit of available lots out there. And then they just couldn't build them fast enough. Well, then things kind of cooled off, slowed down a little bit, and then it started kind of coming back up, and then it started going back down. It's just kind of waving, hovering right now.
It would be more contractors from other markets coming in here to produce more lots.
With the price of building materials right now, how it hasn't cooled is beyond me. I mean, when 2x4s and plywood, cost what, 10 times?
Yeah.
Well, Commissioner Blair, the reason that it is because right now, the average time that a house is on the market is 0.
Yeah.
Less than a day.
Yeah, so you're getting bid wars and all that stuff, so prices are elevated, which all they're gonna do with the lumber prices and all that is just gonna add it on to the house. And if there's still strong demand, it's common economics 101, supply and demand.
Right.
It just goes to show you that Rutherford County is a cool place to live.
And some of us have lived here all our lives.
Yes, we have.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for letting us run those, because as these other
Well, the
elements come
number y'all
online, it's
hadn't
gonna be
talked
interesting.
about though is how many kids each one of those houses have
Yeah.
that aren't 55 and over. It's 2 or 2.5.
Something like that.
11,000 or 1,100 homes times 2.5. That's about 3 schools.
Yeah.
So will these developers gonna give us enough money to build 3 schools or even 1? I don't think so.
The only good thing
We're
about
talking-
that web is it's not gonna generate a school.
Yeah.
Well, exactly.
Yeah, and that was talked about.
It was,
At our
yeah.
planning commission, when we listened to Del Webb speech, the fact that many homes with no children
Your
was a,
grandkids can't come live with you.
Yeah.
was a positive.
They're pretty tight on that enforcement of that.
Yeah.
They really are.
And they're not targeted, it's legit.
It is.
It's,
Yeah, no, especially with the Del Webbs.
Yeah,
they're-
I asked a question when we toured down Spring Hill. I said, so if a buyer is, let's say, 60, his wife passes away and he marries a secretary who is less than 50, and then he dies, does she get to stay in the house? No, they said they would help her sell her house as quickly as possible.
Wow.
Wow.
well, and I'll digress after this.
That's all right.
But to your question, I do think that the infrastructure subcommittee needs to get back together after budget to see how can the industry, real estate, home builders, developers can be part of that solution. I do think that there's a dilemma on our horizon.
Well, I mean,
So I do
there's so
want
many.
our industries to participate, how can we contribute?
Yeah, while you're working on that, you need, like even asking for right of way. Guys say, you're putting this in here and adding to our roads, at least give us the right of way so we don't have to buy that. That's not, we're not requiring, and we could.
Well, and our road superintendent said that he can't do it again.
Yeah, yeah.
He took everything out of it, this ending fund balance, he just won't be able to do it another time.
I'd love to have you on that committee.
Yeah.
I'm not asking any more questions.
You can always be a friend of the committee.
There you go.
Don't say it for Trey Good. She'll
there
put
you
you on
go.
the committee.
Yeah, that's right. All right, continue on.
Yes, sir, thank you. We do have just one application for rezoning coming before you next week. This is for property located along Epps Mill Road between I-24 and Manchester Pike. The maps are on your iPad with the report. They'd like to use a portion of the property for a heavy equipment rental shop. There's a concept plan that has been included, it's on your iPads as well, which does show the building location, parking areas, equipment yard, etc. They do have a portion of the site reserved for future expansion. They have talked about possibly selling a portion of the property in the future, although I don't think they're really set on that yet. On that concept plan, you do see a sanitary sewer connection, but I think they're just showing that as that's where it's located. They're not planning on tapping into that. They'd have to get permission from the city, and the city really has been taking more of a hard line as far as who gets sewer out in that area, so I don't foresee that being something that they'll be doing. If they do, they would have to request annexation to the city at that point, and then they'd have to be built to city standard, but again, I don't foresee that happening. They will have access along Epps Mill Road. The concept plan does show guest parking area, potential expansion. All these things, as far as required parking spots, design, access, etc., will be determined by the requirements of the zoning ordinance should this application be approved and the site plan submitted for our review. Most of the properties that surround this are already zoned what's called Employment Activity Center, which is the same zone that they're asking for. So they won't require any kind of buffering at this point. Again, when we get a site plan, we'll make a better determination at that. There is, however, one portion of the, or one side I should say, of the property that does border residential areas, so they are going to have to put a buffer on that side, and of course performance standards would apply. Most of the comments at the Planning Commission concerned traffic along Epps Mill Road, as we know. A lot of traffic goes up and down that road going to I-24. It was agreed that the proposed use would be a good fit as there wasn't going to be much traffic associated with it. But we also did explain that this is not a planned development, so if that use changed, we would have the ability to require a traffic study to determine if any traffic improvements would be necessary to Epps Mill Road at that area. After discussion, the Planning Commission did recommend approval by unanimous vote. So that's the only one we have coming before you next week.
What is the, next to it, across the street, what kind of business is that?
Is that Love's?
Love's is a little further down on the other side of Forbes. It's a, I want to say it was like a truck training center at one
Oh, it used to
time.
be
There's a big, huge gravel lot
CD,
there and everything.
Yeah.
CC, I something like that, yes, sir. It's been there for quite some time.
So Love's is just out of your frame.
Correct. You can see where Forbes is in Miller Lane.
Is Ronnie Barrett down on Miller Lane?
Yes, sir. That's where that is. Love's would be on the other side of that little triangle there. Forbes right on the other side at the end of the map. That'd be Love's, right in that area.
Perfect, that's just much right there. Thank you, Doug. Any questions for Doug? Any additional questions? We need a motion to accept his report before we go into the budget.
Yes, sir.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion carries. Doug, let's
Yes,
talk about
thank
money.
you. Just a very small budget amendment we need to make within our budget. We moved some money over to our legal notices line item earlier in the year to cover what we hoped was going to be enough. Of course, with the COVID advertising and everything, the ads had to be longer with the language we had to add, and the language requirements went a little longer than I think we had anticipated. So we're just moving a little bit of money over from a different line item, maintenance and repair of office equipment. This is repair of equipment that doesn't have any kind of a contract already for maintenance. We haven't used any, knock wood, hopefully we won't have to. You know, we only got another month or two left of the fiscal year, so we're gonna cross our fingers and hope we do all right, but we're gonna move 900. That should be more than enough to cover any other legal notices for the rest of this fiscal year.
Questions?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, roll call.
Commissioner Harris,
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Sherino,
Yes.
Commissioner Blair,
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd.
Yes.
Chairman Cush.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Chairman Kush,
Yes, sir.
quick question. Part of these advertising costs that you've got or legal notices is to let people know when there's a zoning change in their area.
That's correct.
And that's where you send letters to anybody within 500 feet.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
What would it cost us if we expanded that to 1,000 feet? Because that's one of the worst complaints I get about zoning changes.
Right.
I just live right here, and, you know, I didn't get a notice, that's why I wasn't there.
Right. Well, and let me,
Yeah.
as far as what a cost would be, that's something we can come up with. It's gonna depend, I mean, you would think.
Depends on where it's at.
Exactly. You could say, well, if we double the distance, we double the, budget, maybe, maybe not.
If you did it on my street, you wouldn't, but if you
Yeah.
did it on,
Right.
you know, somewhere downtown.
Right, and that leads the question, Chairman, does that only need to apply in a rural setting as opposed to a congested subdivision?
My area is rural and urban, so, you know, I'm getting equal complaints, so I'd say it would go everywhere.
Is it everywhere now? It's just a
It's a
blanket
very, yeah, it's,
500?
and honestly, I think that's the fairest and just the best way to do it, plus the easiest to try, because where do you draw the line? What constitutes urban and rural, you know, trying to figure that out. Now, I've had some other conversations with some of the other commissioners about this very topic, and I'm gonna reach out to some of the surrounding counties to kind of get an idea of what they do as far as mail outs go. And I can compile some information and bring it back to you with maybe some estimates as to what we think the cost may be. It's gonna be difficult to figure that out, but I would be curious. The 500 foot's been here as long as I've worked here. So I think it's time to take a look at it just to see. Even if it's not 1,000, it's like 750 or something, we can come up with some options to kind of see what the, again, just to kind of.
And I'm not trying to make a hardship on you, I'm just trying to
No,
help
no,
people
not
that
at all.
are
Right.
wanting to, you know, have a say on what's happening in their area.
Sure,
So.
sure.
Well, I think this is something that your infrastructure should be pinpointing on as well.
The what?
Your infrastructure committee should be able to work with him on that as an idea of how to, that's definitely something that should be discussed.
Yeah, and we can, like I said, I was actually gonna send an email out today, but tied up with some other things, with some of the surrounding counties, just to start that, to get an idea of what some of them do, just so I could have some information for you all. But thank you for bringing that up. I'll make sure I get that on my to-do list tomorrow.
As far as statute, does it prohibit us from requiring developers or builders to pay for something like that? I mean, do we have the authority to say, hey, you know, since you want to do this, we want to notify the local community, we want you.
Well, yes, and I didn't mean to cut you off. Part of, you know, I think that goes into what we look at for just our application fees. You know, that's something else that I know we need to look some more at, like what do we charge for rezoning? What do we charge for board of zoning appeal cases? Those are what we primarily advertise for, rezoning cases and board of zoning appeals cases. So that can be added into, you know, factored into figuring out a cost of how much an average application would be, and then kind of looking at what we do charge and kind of
Well, if we
looking at
could
that.
transfer some of these costs to the people that are benefiting from these actions, I think that would be a wise move on our part and take it off of our constituents.
So,
Well, part of their budget is on those fees. The application fees for rezoning, it's a matter of is it time to relook at them and raise them, but there are fees associated with every application. So much per lot, it's a lump sum.
right, and then for rezonings and board of zoning.
A few
appeals.
$1,000s.
Yeah,
So,
well, like, for instance, that Del Webb, when it came in, you know, the master plans for the entire development. So when they brought in the fees, they brought in a check for all 1,100 lots. So that check was over $100,000 just for that one set of plans. And of course, now that's gonna cover, you know, the reviews we have to do. That's gonna cover construction review, which is the real detailed, looking at the pipe sizes, grading and drainage, the real heavy detailed stuff. So, I mean, it's, you know, a lot of time goes into reviewing those plans.
I don't know the answer to this, but I'm very curious. I might look stupid here. But if we started requesting that developers do the right-of-way, how would that process work?
As far as the frontage, well, actually, we have the ability to do a lot of that now with larger, well, like for the Del Webb, if you look at their preliminary plan, they actually are showing some possible dedication along their southern, I guess that'd be their northern boundary on the southern side. The issue we get into on especially the state roads is, especially one that hasn't been designed yet, is where's that route going to be? You know, we may say, okay, they're going to dedicate this, but then the state goes up here and then gets right away. So we have that ability now. Though there were some bills going to the state to try to limit that from happening, localities from doing that, but that thankfully, as far as I know, didn't pass. But for a good example, that one that just was approved in your district,
On
Rutherford Richardson, right? They're gonna be doing some right-of-way dedication along their frontage and realigning a portion of that road as part of their development. Well, yeah, and yours,
Yeah, we requested
Yeah.
it.
Right.
Epps Mill is another one,
Mhm.
years ago, you know, where that, there's a park out there, industrial park.
Yes, on the other side,
I
yeah.
remember driving fire engines down that road and my mirrors hitting the leaves on both sides of the road as I'm going down the road. That's how narrow it was. And when that came up, I asked for right-of-way dedication. And it was a hard fight, but we got it. And, you know, it only makes sense. This guy's got several hundred acres there. Where at that time, it was around 100 acres. And, you know, what's a 15-foot strip going to mean to, you know, him giving access, especially since you look how that business has grown over there in the industrial park. So I think we're not doing our job if we're not asking. You know, they can say no, and we can wrangle around about it, but I think we should be asking.
Yeah. And for that, I'm sorry, I mean.
Well, I was just gonna say, Murfreesboro City actually requires.
They do.
That, and they also require a fee for future development. And I don't know exactly how that goes.
Like they put, well, what they may do, they may require right away, like you said, and then they require like a certain amount per linear foot in escrow, you know, for future, I think that's what you're talking about. Well, in that one we just talked about a little earlier today, the one on Epps Mill Road, of course, we can't require it at the rezoning, but when they come out with a site plan, that's why we're saying, well, you know, we're proposing this to be whatever lanes, the name of the development, and then, you know, you got to dedicate a little bit of right away to show that. Now, you know, that adds up over time, but, you know, if nothing else develops, you get a little sliver, at least you got a little sliver of it if you ever decide to try to do some heavier duty improvements to that road.
Something else for your committee.
Exactly.
I know, right? And it's already on, yeah, it's part of it's our committee.
Okay.
Oh, no, yeah,
I think he really wants to be on it, just keep it.
No, we don't.
the chairman of the budget committee doesn't need to be on it, he's got enough. It's part of the conversation, it's a good part, yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
We voted on your $900, didn't we?
I think so.
Yeah, okay, good. All right, Doug, thank you so
Okay,
much.
thank you all. Have a good evening.
Before you leave,
Sit back down.
stuff
Thought I was thought I got away.
Almost had it.
how long has it been since your fees have been adjusted?
2007 was the last time.
Could you bring us a copy of your fees and the amount you charge and
Yeah.
what it's for next time?
Yes, be glad to. And
I think it'd be good for Tanya to bring the fees that,
Where'd she go?
there you go. You gave me those fees last night that Franklin Williamson County's
Yes.
charging.
Yes.
And it gives all the breakdown. I think it'd be a good comparison as well.
yes, sir. Yeah, we'll be happy. And while I've got the floor, just real quick, everybody on the committee here should have gotten an email from me late last week about the, I won't call it the kickoff, but the survey for the comprehensive plan.
So I was got to.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I got mixed up on a couple of as I was typing them out. Sorry about that. But yeah, if you could go ahead and just be aware that Michael Skipper from GNRC will probably be reaching out, or someone from GNRC will be reaching out to talk to you. But if you guys could complete the survey, that'll definitely help us out, get started on that process.
Was there a due date on that?
There just, I think I put the next Friday, if I remember right.
Yeah, I did it. It took about 15 minutes.
Okay, good, thank you.
Thanks for the reminder.
Yes, no, I was gonna say something, and I got up here and we got to talking about everything, and I forgot, then it hit me, I'm like, oh yeah, I want to remember. So,
Perfect. Thank you,
all
Doug.
right, thank you.
All right, Mac Nolan.
15 minutes.
And that survey's got little 3-page statements in there, or 3-word statements. You can have some fun with that. How are y'all this evening? Before we start the report, 2 weeks ago, we did purchasing.
Yes, sir.
We had 4 bids go out. 1 bid was for bush hogging our landfill, 265 actual acres there, 176 gets bush hog. We had no bids. So that's going to get rebid. The equipment contractor was put out for bid. We sent it to 11 folks. We got 1 bid, same contractor. Put out our truck tires at bids, and normally we've been having 3. We only had 2. And then we put out for porta potty bids. We've got porta potties on trailers and all the centers at the landfill and at our facility as well. Only had one bidder.
Was Rockwood one of the ones on the tires?
This is to buy tires,
Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry.
to buy truck tires.
And what was the second one you said? Did you bid out equipment?
The landfill
Tractor.
equipment,
What is that?
that's where we
Is that
have
who's got it now?
Melton.
Oh.
And he was the only bidder again.
Interesting.
So,
I thought John Gill reached out to you, did he not?
He didn't bid that.
He didn't?
Well, we didn't receive one.
Okay.
so what is wrong with our, my first assumption is everybody's so busy they don't want to fill with it. My second conclusion is, what is wrong with our bidding system that nobody's getting notifications, or we're advertising in the wrong spot or spots, that
Well,
nobody's getting wind of our needs?
Laura and I discussed it, recently, and she said that she prefers to be able to email everything out instead of post office mail.
Yeah.
And if you send an email to Mr. Blair and he doesn't get it, sometimes it comes back to you that it's not a valid address. That way you know that he did not get that. So that way you can make a phone call or whatever to find another way to reach out to him. So
Yeah.
for our vendor list, what we're gonna try to do is go through and get an email address for everybody and let the vendors know that you need to give us an email that's, you know, for somebody that's gonna stay at the company, not somebody that's just moving around a whole lot.
After the bush hogging at the landfill, we called Mike Balk's son, who did it last year,
Yeah.
didn't we, Steve?
Yes, sir.
And he said he didn't get it.
He didn't get it.
He didn't get an email. So I don't know, you know.
And I've got
I think we
guys that
need to
would,
do
I
both.
think, jump on some of
No.
those. But
Now, the bush hogging now is, let me explain the bush hogging to you.
before we jump to,
Yes, sir.
we were on, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
We were on another topic, weren't we, the contractor bid?
Yes, sir.
And then there's this bid, but where is the database for contractors now, Jay? It used to be the Dodge room, used to be,
There's 3 or 4. There's
do
one
we
called
do any,
Construction Insight.
Construction Data Facts.
do we just have a vendor list and we invite them?
Yes. And then we put it in Marshall Post, I think. It's in a newspaper, but I don't know which one.
That's antiquated.
Yeah.
There's nobody.
Nobody's gonna
that's
see that.
And so there are 3 big databases that people have memberships in or whatever, so we need to investigate. On the contractor side, I don't know about tires and, bush hogging,
The
but-
tires are just, I think there was 8 or 9 tire dealers we sent it to, and there's some of them that never bid. But we sent it to them anyway, because they're here local.
Well, okay, dumb question. Does T-Dec or does the state not have, can we not run these through on a state level and they break them down by county? Or, well, I mean, like,
Tires, for
could we
instance.
not send our needs to the state who bids out everything on an annual basis?
The state
Or
does.
state contracts, I
The
guess.
state
what I'm
does
trying
have
to say.
contracts, and most of those for like the bush hogging is specific to pieces of property,
Okay.
parks,
Or
that type of stuff.
24 or
Yes.
Yeah, okay,
Sections, yeah.
okay.
What did, I talked, I'm sorry, I
No,
didn't apologize.
no, that's
This guy, this company just called me on bidding on this, and they said they're waiting on the paperwork from the county to submit their bid.
They're waiting on a what?
Waiting on paperwork from the county to
Oh,
submit their bid.
paperwork.
Yeah,
Paperwork. Okay.
Well,
Gotta
we,
get the bids back. What he's saying.
yes.
Yeah, there's a breakdown or two
Oh.
somewhere that we got to figure out how to patch that up.
Is there a social platform? I know with Facebook, you can pay to advertise, you know, insurance or, you know, I mean, is there a platform that we could pay to reach out to a region, you know, for stuff like this on some kind of social network?
Commissioner, we need to look into that, because what we're doing is not working. I have questions as well as the few bids, and if it's tires or needles for EMS or whatever, it's not reaching as many people.
Or convenience center construction.
Yes.
Yeah, which we've had a horrible time getting anybody to respond.
One thing that we talked about also with the mayor, just to remind you that we talked with Laura as well, and she's taken these bids usually from the department head or elected official that, for whatever it may be, and just putting that out there. She's not able to research, or hasn't been researching, you know, for like the state or whatever like that, to put further things out. If this department head were to give us 5 different companies that did XYZ whatever service for us, then those are the only 5 that are going out.
Yeah.
There's not any more. So we've got to be able to go, like you were talking about, these different sites,
Yeah.
and check different, so we throw it out there in a broader.
Right.
We just throw it out
case.
once. We just simply post
Yeah.
to, for lack of a better term, the social media platform or the whatever.
Yes.
The people who do those things simply, it populates where the people already are. There's already tire guys in a tire database dump. There's already contractors in a contractors dump.
We've talked with our IT too earlier
It may require membership in an
last year
association.
about that as well. So
Is
there's a better job that can be done.
Is it worth talking to a Wilson County or a Williamson County to see how they're handling their bidding opportunities?
Sure.
Do you want me to try and volunteer one of us to do that, or volunteer Steve?
I'll jump on it.
We can volunteer, Steve.
Well, it just seems like in today's media,
Sure.
you know,
I agree.
if you hiccup incorrectly, you know, it goes across the state.
Going viral.
Yeah, it goes viral, you know, that we can't get these bid notifications out there. It's a little perplexing,
Yeah.
knowing how the information is disseminated presently.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, for instance, Facebook Marketplace, I'd say if you put it on a space like that, which I assume that we could, you definitely would get a lot of people looking at it, from what I hear about that.
It sounds like our information highway is built to county standards. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Well, I know snail mail has been a real issue with a lot of things. I haven't put a stop check on something in probably 12, 15 years, and I went in the bank to do it, and there was 4 other people doing that because, you know, their checks hadn't gotten where it was going within 4 to 5 to 6
Right.
weeks.
Yeah.
So snail mail is an issue right now for whatever reason it is. I don't know.
I blame it on COVID, everything. Blame it on COVID.
Yeah. All right, Steve, that's your task with Wilson and Williamson, perhaps.
Okay.
Find out what they're doing, and then you and IT and our communications
Yes, sir.
department, find out what we're missing. And I would agree with Commissioner Don. I mean, I know we have to put it in the paper, but contractors aren't reading papers.
No, we tried to pass a bill, General Assembly a few years ago, and the Tennessee Press Association came out. We tried to eliminate putting it into the paper. Put the legal notices in the paper is basically the only thing keeping papers alive today.
Yeah.
And they fought it tooth and nail, statewide. I mean, they killed that bill before it got out of committee.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not opposed to putting it in the paper, but that should not be our only means of advertising.
Correct.
Do we need to rebid some of these, since we just got like one bid on some
Well,
things or nothing?
Yeah, until we figure out how to do it. What are we going to do?
Sure, I'd like to make a motion to open bidding for another 60 days.
Yes, sir.
Well,
We've already
we
awarded
awarded
them.
it.
Yeah,
Oh,
we
already
awarded
awarded.
purchase.
Which ones?
Which ones?
Well, purchasing awarded the bid.
Well, yes.
Yeah, it's got to go for the full commission. So, you know,
So all 4 of these have been awarded?
No, sir.
Somebody help me out here.
One of them, we didn't get a bid at all, so
Okay.
it's gonna be rebid.
Which one is
Okay,
that?
which one?
The bush hogging,
Okay.
didn't get a single bidder.
Got it.
And to explain a little bit about the bush hogging, that's, landfill bush hogging is totally different from farming bush hogging. You got drainage ditches and piping and all kinds of stuff to avoid, so that's the reason you don't have just the regular farmer wanting to bush hog the landfill. And it's more expensive. When we did it that one time last year, it was $11,300 to bush hog one time.
Do we need to require a on-site pre-bid meeting so people can walk around and?
Well, I was surprised we didn't. We had 3, we actually got estimates. We didn't actually put it out for bid last round because we're just doing it one time and we knew it was gonna be less than the required bid. And we had 3 companies come and look at it and talk about it. And we had 3 estimates, and we went with the lowest one.
Yeah.
And so we had it set up to send out to those same 3 people.
Yeah.
Didn't get anything from them.
Yeah.
Well, buying our own tractor or bush hog and letting our employee out there do it's another option too, isn't it?
Well, we took that out of the budget, of this current budget, depending on what we're gonna do with the landfill. You're right, it is, but we chose not to take that option at this time.
Yeah, we purposely pulled that last year.
So bush hogging is open, but all the other ones have been,
I don't know when it's gonna be posted again. It'll be for the next round.
but the other ones have been awarded.
Well, the bids were accepted by the purchasing committee,
But
but
still gotta go through us.
it will still be on the agenda for
Which ones are those?
If those were
Excavation?
turned down at full commission, could we rebid them then? Or is that,
It's my understanding.
When do the existing contracts expire?
The tire contract started this month with 2 bidders. Normally we have Best One, Piedmont, and Quality. We had Piedmont and Quality to be at Best One, said they didn't get theirs on time. Porta potties, we've had the same vendor forever. We started these centers with that vendor, and we've got the same vendor still. And it's, my knowledge, it's the first time it's been rebid in years, and we only had that 1 bidder. I talked to a couple of people that called and asked, and our porta potties, the way we have them set up in the centers, is they get service every other week. You know, it's not a lot of people, and we don't have a lot of employees there, and they're not really intended for public use. But if you get a little kid that's got to go to the restroom, let them go. You know, so we do it every other week, and a lot of them, if they couldn't do it weekly, they didn't.
And then the last one is the excavation contract? What was-
It's the equipment contract at the landfill,
And it was 1 bidder?
1 bidder.
And did purchasing approve the apparent best bid?
When does it expire?
Yes, you're right.
June 1, June 30th?
June 30th should be, I
Yeah,
think.
June 30th, I think, is when it expires, so there's
So
still time.
you've got nearly 60 days.
Yes.
Pretty close.
Chairman, you bring that up in the full commission? Yes, sir.
Now, I'd like to nicely caution you,
Yes, sir.
please don't put us in a position that we don't have a contractor on the ground. If we have a leachate outbreak and nobody's there with equipment, we've got a big problem.
we don't have an employee and a bulldozer?
We have 1 employee and 1 bulldozer,
Okay, thank you.
but we don't have any way to haul any dirt.
All right, so we got off track a little bit, but we needed to, because,
Now, I want to say one thing.
Yes, sir.
I know the goal that we're pursuing on this contractor situation, trying to get more bids to compare and all. The gentleman that did bid on it is a local person down there, and he is most likely going to do it cheaper than anybody you can find. I just want to say.
yeah, oh, yeah. I don't think anybody's trying to not, we want to give it to the right people, and if it's the same person that's been doing it forever, that's fine. I just am convinced that there's a breakdown with us getting the word out on things that we want to bid out, whether it's you pick it, whether it's building a convenience center
Oh, I know.
or buying, anything, buying something for the sheriff's department. I think we are doing something very antiquated, and we need to figure out how to get to the 2021 years. But I agree. I'm not trying to block anybody that's currently working with us.
I'd like to say something along
Yeah.
those lines myself.
Yeah.
Is I don't have a problem with the person that's currently doing it
No.
under the way we've got it bid now, where the hours have to be posted. And I don't care who gets the bid, that's the way I want to see. They're gonna have to give us documentation, and they're gonna have to clock in and out. And that's the way that was supposedly bid, and I'm sure it was. And it doesn't matter who gets it, as long as it's clear and I'm seeing, where this bill and this time correlate. That's what I've been after all along. I'd like to see more people bid. As a matter of fact, I know someone that was possibly going to bid on it, and I'm going to call them and ask if they got a request thinking like you, we're not getting out.
Right. And let me say one more thing before we move on. Mac, if you need help writing a scope of defining the work, feel free to bring that to this committee to help write a draft or to review anything you have, because you got construction experience, and then all kind, jack of all trades down there. So if you need help putting a scope together, feel free to ask us to take a look at it.
Well, the bid specs for this was in last month's report, and that's where you mentioned what you wanted, and we added it. I mean,
Like I
we put
said,
the wording in, and then the mayor refined the wording, and that's the way it went out.
yeah, and I'm very happy with the way that went out. Actually, Laura called me and asked me, what read it to me. I said, yeah, that's exactly what, we had agreed to, not just me. So, no, I'm very happy with that. I'm just saying that it surprised me on only one bidder.
I talked to a guy several months ago. He lives out in Las Casas somewhere, but their business is not in Las Casas. But he's in the contractor, and I explained to him what we do and how we do and everything else, and added him to the bid list, and was really disappointed we didn't get a bid from his company.
Yeah, and that may be the case with the people I talked to too. So, we'll see.
All right, we know what to do, or we know our next steps anyway.
And like the bush hog bid, that's not based on any hours. That's just a flat price. So they do it for this amount of money, so there's no need to having that type of statement in there.
It was a lump sum, is that what you're saying?
And they're just asking, it's just asking, what will you mow this 176 acres for?
Each time, right.
Chairman, you got something?
Lisa?
Just a point of clarification is what I was hearing. I think the purchasing committee has the authority to accept the contracts and approve based on our private act, that it doesn't have to be ratified by the full commission.
Yeah, as somebody that used to be on purchasing committee, I don't remember anything
Notice with the not clause.
going to full commission. Normally it's just thrown under,
All you do is send your minutes.
it's under the consent agenda, and it just
Right,
kind
it's
of,
just more or less the letting commission know what y'all done.
yeah, right, okay.
But I mean, I'm thinking if the purchasing committee has awarded it, it's been awarded.
Yeah.
Well, I think we can ask our attorney, let him advise us. That way we won't make a misstep.
Yeah. All right. Mac, let's move on.
All right, Central Tennessee Region Solid Waste Planning Board has scheduled a meeting for May the 5th at 6 p.m. at the Murfreesboro Police Department Community Room, which is located at 1004 North Highland Avenue. The meeting is intended to review and approve the annual progress report for the state and the 10-year plan.
I thought that was later in the month. I thought it was like the 28th.
28th is the when we requested the deadline for us to be done.
Okay. Okay.
What tech did you just say?
Okay,
What
Central-
is that? Is that part of the TDEC?
Okay.
What is it?
The Central Tennessee Region Solid Waste Planning Board is made up of 4 counties: Rutherford, Cannon, Coffee, and Warren.
Okay.
And we've been in this region together since 1991 or 2, something like that.
Metro's on their own.
Yes.
We're a group of 4. Okay.
Right. And don't know why we're set up the way we are, but somebody back then wanted to do it that way.
Yeah.
So each one of us have our individual plans and our individual annual progress report. Each one of us, and as a body, we approve each of those reports and send all 4 reports to TDEC, and then they combine them there. So the region is, I was under the misconception that the region is 4, all 4 together. The region is each actual county. And then the regional board is the 4 counties combined. So each county is done their progress report and their 10-year plan. So the meeting we had the meeting scheduled for 2 weeks ago, I think. And it was brought to our attention that we probably didn't have it advertised properly. It may have a sunshine law violation, so we reset the date, asked for an extension on the APR report, and explained to TDEC why. And they answered us back yes in the same day.
And is that 10-year plan, is it critical that we absorb that
Yes.
as this committee and the solid waste subcommittee? Do we need to dig into that and be at that meeting? And
Well, there's a budget meeting
because
that
everything
same
you're saying here in
night.
acronyms, and I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about.
Right.
So
The solid waste board was scheduled to be at the budget meeting that night, and I had to ask them to move me to a different night so I could attend this meeting instead of the budget meeting that's going to be here that night.
what date is that?
May the 20th, 6 p.m., Murfreesboro Police Department Community Room. I know where the police department is, but I've never been inside of it.
That's a good thing.
Well, yeah.
Maybe that you can remember.
Not at that location.
Oh,
But is the regional planning board, is it more of an advisory group than anything else?
The regional
I think it's kind
planning
of been
board
that
or the
way.
regional solid waste
Okay,
board?
that's what, I'm sorry, regional solid waste, I misspoke.
I think it's got a lot
It's
more
got,
power.
it's got a big stick that we don't really understand.
Yeah, I
For
don't-
instance, may I jump in? May I jump in?
Yes,
please?
you may.
For instance, Waste Management applied for an expansion of a cell in their landfill in Davidson.
Right.
And the first party that denied it was the Metro Solid Waste Planning Board. And
Which is-
lo and behold, we have
We have,
a regional solid waste planning board made up of 4 counties with the same authority that the Metro has.
But TDEC's the one that.
And then TDEC, yeah.
Denied it. so-
Correct. They
Well-
but I'm just, that body had
Some influence.
decision-making influence, and we have the same body, it just happens to be 4 members.
depending on.
County,
Four
yeah, 4
counties.
counties. 4 counties, it's actually 4 counties and 4 cities.
And they have some authority.
Yeah.
Okay.
They may have, depending on who you talk to, they may have more authority than TDEC.
Well, just from what little I've read and heard, it seems like TDEC considers their effort in the past not being consistent with what's actually occurring. Is that correct?
I think you'll see that, but the true intent is for TDEC to, they don't want to overrun or overstep. You know, they'll kind of go along with whatever this regional board says.
Okay.
But it's been inconsistent. And the ruling, so they only meet once a year.
Our board normally meets quarterly, and the Metro board meets often. There's a lot of them around the state that don't meet. Their members are not even living or anything else, so it's kind of a hodgepodge, but a few of them are still in existence and have done what they've done. Now, what's got all the attention, of course, is, Middle Point asked for an expansion. They sent the letter to the state. They sent it to the Central Tennessee Regional Board at the same time. So the regional board has to hear their expansion request and look at how our plan is designed and what they're requesting and see if it matches.
So remind me what's going to happen May 20th.
May the 20th is not about Middle Point. May the 20th is our annual progress report that we send to TDEC every year, and then they compile all 95 counties to have a report for the governor. That's what it's for.
Okay.
And then the 10-year plan is part of the APR, but it's actually a separate part of the APR. So officially to vote for it, you have to have 2 votes. One for the 10-year plan, one for that
So
annual progress report.
where's the regional board now with their 10-year plan? And
We-
are they redeveloping one now, or in the middle of a 10-year cycle?
When they first started the board, he's talking about antiquated, the board would have to meet, write a resolution, we want to change this section of our plan, send it to TDEC for their approval. Now with computers and that type of stuff, it's all done online. So instead of doing the 10-year plan every 5 years, it has to be done every 5 years, but now you do it every year. In your narrative for each of their sections, you put in there what you plan to do. If you remember last year, was it last year? Year before? First year, year before, Mayor Ketron had, wanted to do a lot of different things with solid waste. So TDEC contacted us, you need to ask for an extension and open it. There's 11 different categories that you can or cannot, you choose whether you want to put something in or not. So we went into all categories and put in everything that we could think of that he might possibly want to try to do with disposal and recycling. The reason for that is when TDEC was actually giving out grants, not giving them right now, if we requested a grant to buy water bottles and we didn't have anything in our plan that we were going to buy water bottles, then we don't get any grant funding.
Mr. Chairman, I apologize, I'm in a learning process right now.
We all are.
Because I've always felt like we were pretty autonomous because of state statute for residential solid waste. And I guess I'm finding out that that's not exactly the case.
It's going to take a legal decision, but I think you probably have to opt out of the region. I'm not sure that that's even allowable. But there are so many things that have not happened with that regional authority. In 1992, when it was created, Mary Ann Eccles' husband, George, went in as chairman for our region. Dr. Eccles, anybody remembers him? There was $1 that the General Assembly crafted a bill and said that $1 for every tire sold in the state of Tennessee would go into a pool that TDEC would collect, and then they would turn around and give money back to the different regions across the state. And for number one, they were supposed to buy a tire grinder for each one of those regions. Well, that never happened. That's when Miss Allen was county mayor, county executive, and George was there, and then he came off, and nothing ever happened. When I inquired, when I first got here, when I inquired about that pot of money, because there's millions and millions of dollars in there, when I inquired at TDEC, they said they'd check into it, and I called the next month and it was gone.
Wow.
The money disappeared.
Wow.
Now what has changed on the tire thing since '92, it was when I first started, it was a tire grant, used tire grant. And the way it worked is we would collect the tires, we'd have to have a recycler, which is Liberty Tire. Liberty Tire is the only one that's ever bid on anything because they bought out all their competition. Now somebody's bought them out. You know, so, but we've not rebid the tire bid for quite some time. They just let us keep on running at our same price, which is $65 a ton and no transportation. All the other counties that have rebid, their price is almost doubled. That's the reason we've chosen not to bid yet. And then the other reason they've kind of left us alone is 3 or 4 years ago, there was different groups in the state, but all of them government organizations that was trying to come together to create a entity that would recycle tires. And start with one to recycle the tires, try to get all the tires in that region, and grow that to where you have one in middle, one in west, one in East Tennessee, and then you could actually grow from there. They had a problem trying to decide it. If you remember, we were, in the discussion to have a location here, and I wound up on that tires board because we were looking at doing it here. Mayor Rogers Anderson is on it, and there's a mayor from the east and a mayor from the west, and we haven't met for quite some time. But what happened after the tire grant, you would sell the dealers would collect their $1.35 per tire. The dealer would keep 10 cents, send $1.25 to the Department of Revenue. TDEC, or the Department of Revenue, would keep 25 cents, and then the TDEC would use $1 of each of those to reimburse the county. So we would have to do the paperwork when one of the tire stores would send a load of tires in. They paid for the transportation. Liberty would send us the bill to pay for the tires. And then I had a meeting with the tire dealers, and they really showed up, and I explained to them how it all worked. And we were one of the very fortunate counties that our dealers pay what they're supposed to pay. And we have enough money to pay for the tires that's going to get recycled. But all we do with the money is pass it through. What a lot of the other counties were doing is the scale operator salary and a few dollars out of the solid waste director salary was all coming out of grant funding, which you can do that, but you wind up not having enough funds. Our scale operator is going to get paid whether she weighs a tire today or not. I'm gonna get paid for working today, whether I deal with a tire or not. So there's no need in putting those funds in there. But we're actually getting a few dollars more from the tires than we actually send in, but we're still spending it like we're supposed to. But now that grant part has gone away, so when the tire dealers send their money in quarterly, then the state just sends us the money. There's no paperwork that we have to do. We are continuing to do the tire manifest just so we can keep up with who sent money in, where the tires have come from and all that kind of stuff. So when we get a bill, we've got a manifest number to go with it, so we know that, you know, Liberty did get these tires from this tire store.
Let me put my chairman's hat on for a minute and give you some history since I'm old. May 12th, which is when we meet again, we will be talking with Republic about their RFP. We have all read in the paper or listened to the radio various comments, interviews from a variety of different people in office, out of office, about the Republic expansion. There's been even talk that has been broadcast that Republic has removed their intent to expand. Who's heard that?
I've heard it.
It's not true.
I'm the one that made that comment, Chairman.
Okay, it's not true.
I'm the one that made that comment because in my discussions with Republic, I asked them to withdraw that.
Right.
And I know that's not true because the next day the letter was sent to my office saying that they were not withdrawing it.
Right.
It was my intent that it was, but they are strictly not taking
They're
the
delaying.
next step
That's right.
and going to the regional board before it goes to
That's right.
TDEC and specifically put the date down of February the 25th.
That's right.
Okay, so that is historically how it happened
Right.
last week.
Right. And I'm not picking on you. I didn't even know you said that. So
Well, I think I was quoted in the paper. And
I
it's all
don't read
over.
the paper.
Well, and
So I'm
even
not-
social media.
I'm not picking on you, Mayor.
No, I'm just
Okay.
setting the facts straight.
All right. But they are just delaying their act. There's two parts to their request. Part one is just the fact that they get it out there and broadcast it. Part two is their whole hydrologic study, water, soils, geology, things like that. They have a year to do that.
270 days.
They're already in the process of doing that. So be careful what you read in the paper, okay? Their full intent is to expand. So here is what they've poked the bear, and this is what has bothered me. And I asked you all a meeting or two ago to keep an open mind when Republic comes to call. But I was on the GBB Solid Waste Authority Committee. There's only two in this room that were on that committee, Mac and myself. And if you look at the videos and you go back in history, for weeks and weeks, I sat right next to Mayor Burgess and right next to Shane McFarland for every meeting. City of Laverne was there, City of Smyrna was there, MTSU was there, Chamber of Commerce was there, Eagle, and a whole host of other stakeholders. And we listened to that GBB report. And many of you have poo-pooed the fact that we spent 6 digits of money on that report. But here's what this report is coming to show us. And I'm going to get to why I need your support on this in just a second. That came out in 2018, not very many years ago. And the information in that report was put together by information supplied by Republic and by TDEC. And that information clearly said that by 2027, the Republic landfill will be closed. They even stated that they will have to close because they will have no more soil to cover. They're done. 2027, they're done. So we all got a binder this thick from GBB, and we all spent multiple meetings over a year. Maybe it's a little longer than a year. We took a little break there. 18 months. And we went through the entire comprehensive process on how does Rutherford County, what do we do when that thing closes in 2027? That's why we're all here right now. That's why we went through 9 RFPs, is to make a plan. That plan never said anything about expansion.
It had the expansion of onto our landfill.
Correct. It never had an 85% expansion, which now they're quoting in the paper and now is on their color-coded footprint. Right, they wanted to take over the valley, take our 2.0 and fill it in the valley. But it doesn't. What they're saying today is inconsistent to what they told us in 2018, which is what we based our whole comprehensive plan on. That makes me angry. The inconsistency that they're doing. Now, the regional committee that he chairs, of those 4 counties, has a big stick. A big enough stick that they can deny expansion with this one sentence. Reject or deny any new expansion if inconsistent with the 10-year plan. Well, the GBB report is a 10-year plan. And nowhere in that plan says that they're going to expand 85%, and they're going to push the limits to Jefferson Pike and all the way to the other land boundaries. Nowhere does it say that. Inconsistent with the 10-year plan. The city's PO'd, I'm PO'd. My friend Darren Gore, who sits on the regional committee now, has taken the GBB report and summarized it. Rachel's going to send all this to you tomorrow. This is going to the city. This is on the city council's agenda this Thursday. City council's going to vote on this. To send this to the regional county for approval as the 10-year report. I'm going to ask the same for full commission when we meet Thursday. This, we asked in a letter, the mayor and I both signed, said, hey, send this to the regional committee, send this to TDEC, hey, hold off for a year and 1 day. We did that. We got a, hey, yeah, we're going to kind of lay off for a minute. Mac's committee has the power to shut them down, or at least make it very difficult. Because what we're saying, what the city is saying, and what I support the city in their comments, and I want you all to read it and see if you don't read the same thing, is what they're saying now is inconsistent to what they told us in 2018, which is why we're here tonight. All the stuff we looked at with GBB, all the how to do a solid waste authority, how to do an interlocal agreement, all how to lay out those plans is in the GBB report. Waste to energy, recycling, the whole
4 components of our
yes
RFP came
yes
with it.
yes.
Chairman, you made a statement a moment ago, and I want clarification on it. You said that Mac's committee had the power or authority to shut them down. What you mean is they have the authority not to allow expansion, is that correct?
That's correct. I chose my words more out of anger and, disgust. But yes, they do not have the power to shut their doors. They have the power to make it very difficult for them to expand if it doesn't line up with our 10-year plan.
Has the 10-year plan been consistent? I think Wayne may have had the point earlier.
We have no 10-year plan.
That's what I'm saying. We've had this,
We have a 10-year plan.
the Waste Authority has had, they meet quarterly, they have an annual plan, APR, and APR kind of evolves into a rolling 10-year plan.
Annual progress report.
progress report. And so if the progress reports from the previous year since 92, whenever this board was created, have all been hunky-dory, does it create a platform that TDEC says, well, hang on, your solid waste committee since 1992 has never had a complaint, never had anything, a red flag?
Annual progress report is separate from the 10-year plan.
Mm-hmm.
The progress report is to report basically what they're wanting to have a 25% reduction for recycling. So it's how close are you to that goal? You know, so, and what progress have you made over the years to reach that goal? Part of what we do to reach that goal is we reach out to, because the county, you know, we recycle in the centers and we do some recycling at the schools. So we're not 25% in what we do. The city of Murfreesboro does the mulch facility, and that counts for diversion, and they grind almost as much mulch as they have garbage. So they're basically zero. And then we reach out to as many businesses that will respond to us and what their recycle rates were, we put that in. So once you get what each individual county does and you combine that together, we're somewhere in the 40% recycle range.
So that's all APR.
Annual progress report.
Does Chairman Cush's recitation of this plan, of this 10-year plan being a component to push back against the expansion plan, is that legitimate, or have your other meetings and 10-year plans not supported?
I don't know that Mac has seen the summary from Darren Gore,
I have not.
but it's nothing that's not in the GBB report that we all went through in 2018 and 2019.
Our 10-year plan has several different places in it.
Yeah, I don't want to get in the weeds.
Okay,
on it all.
so it's basically a question or a scenario, and what do you want to do?
Right.
Well, when we first started, then we refined it a little bit. I mean, we were throwing everything at the wall and hoping it all stick, you know, because we're wide open. We're a shotgun. So everything was based on Little Point going to close. What are we going to do with our trash? We're still going to do landfill. Probably not going to have one here. That was kind of the nutshell of what it all says. And then also in there, there's a TDEC survey. So in the TDEC, because I called TDEC and explained to them what the mayor's letter, both mayors, you know, both groups had a letter. I said, it's really not a place in this 10-year plan for that. They said, no, it's not. But you put it.
For expansion?
No, for their letters. So I said, all right, so I'm tasked with putting it in the report. So where can I put that? Question number 6 on the survey. So Darren and I were on the phone for quite some time. Darren, I don't know if you've ever read anything Darren's written, but it's rather lengthy.
It's thorough, yeah.
So there was, you click a box and you can put 2,000 characters in a box and you can get up to 5 clicks. So the mayor's letter fit in a box neatly. Darren's letter, we had to take out several different statements or parts of it and to fill up the other 4 boxes. But we do have those comments in there already.
For the
That
first
answer-
time. The other previous years, there's, okay, we're going to get in the weeds, we can.
Okay.
Just, if the previous reports may not be supportive of a new, and I think there's a correlation between the previous reports and all of a sudden it's like, oh, the previous reports really don't count. This is the report we meant to send in. I just want to make sure we get there.
The city council, Darren is looking for the city council to support this document so that Darren can, as the representative of the city, can give this report to Mac's group and say, this is what the city supports. I would ask that we do the same thing as the county, to be in unison with the city county and present that, and they would vote, the 4 counties would vote on this as the summary of the 10-year plan, which is basically what the GBB report laid out, which then gives us some pushback on, you never talked about an 85% expansion until now. You didn't do it 2018 when we all were in the room for a year and a half. So why all of a sudden now? Goes against the grain. So
I'm confused. you have a 10-year plan? And then a GDB report, so which one do we go by? I'm confused. I know what you're saying, Mike, but I'm saying, I go by yours, right? Your
Let's-
10-year plan.
Maybe we need to read the 10-year plan.
Agreed. Because I don't know what it is neither, and I'm kind of shooting blind right here, because I don't know. I know what Mike's saying, I understand that, but then I also know you got a 10-year plan. So I don't know what to do or how to react. I don't know to vote for you or
Well-
does it matter if we got a 10-year plan that Mike has this report?
Our 10-year plan mentions in a broad brush stroke probably everything he's brought up, but ours is going to be broad enough. It is intended to be broad to where we would be able to qualify for grants. That's what we were shooting for. So it's also going to be broad enough for you to be able to shoot some holes in it.
Well, which here lies the rub. Which way are you going to look at it? Do you want to look at it to shut them down from expansion, or do you want to look at it from trying to get a grant? The city's looking at it to shut them down from expansion.
Is this the first,
No, I'm sorry.
is this the first 10-year report? Is this the first, or is there a 10-year report renewed every year?
Every year.
So
If
that's
you
where
change-
I'm at.
if
you
We had a
change-
10-year report
I
for the
didn't
last.
understand
this-
that neither.
If you
this could
change
be
one
changed.
word in one section
Yeah.
of that report, then you've updated your 10-year report
Right.
to a new report.
And this could be changed every year.
And so the previous 10-year reports will not be in contradiction. Are we
correct.
changing the report because we've
Here's what I'm
got an
saying.
expansion application?
And again, I haven't read this
See what I'm
report.
getting at?
He's saying it's broad. Okay? Well, broad leaves everything up for, that's a he said, she said, if you're in broad terms. What we're saying is, look, we don't want to be broad. We want to say, look, you're inconsistent with the 10-year plan. We vote no on expansion. It's inconsistent with what you told us in 2018. Nothing broad there, black and white. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to put a stop to the expansion, is what I'm trying to do. And this group has the power to do it, but you got to be specific. You can't be broad. So that's why I want you guys to read this and see if you buy into it or not. I have not read Mac's 10-year plan. He hadn't shared it with us. He hadn't brought it to us.
We've never wanted to, yeah, we've never even.
We never
wanted
asked for it.
Yeah.
Question.
When she
Question,
sends us that
question,
one, she
question.
needs to also send his plan.
Question.
Yeah,
The GBB plan,
yeah.
we killed their initial point that they wanted to do when we denied them any access to the county landfill for core drilling or any other.
We killed who's Republic you're talking about?
Republic.
Yeah.
Dead in the water. Dead in the water. So is the GBB plan now even any good? Because we stopped funding, we stopped the study, we stopped
That was-
everything.
That was only a portion of the whole comprehensive study, though, was,
Well, it was their conclusion.
Well,
That's
we
what they
voted not-
recommended us to do.
We voted not to agree to their recommendations, is what we decided. That's the 21.
No, we voted to take H2O whatever off the table.
right, but there were
And
still,
that, and that was to allow them to come across.
right, but there were still a half a dozen other options.
Two. It was A, B, and C, I believe.
I remember there's three.
But what Commissioner Piercy is talking about is when Harvey came back to speak and the SWAC committee had their recommendation. The recommendation was to have a waste authority and to continue possibility of expanding the landfill. Economically, you heard me say that. And the county commission voted not to allow them access onto our landfill to do the core drilling. Therefore, that stopped any expansion discussion because they couldn't core drill.
Jump in.
My personal frustration, after all the work we've done over the last 2 years, that this is coming up before we even have the opportunity to finish the RFPs. And of course, I know, Mr. Chairman, we can't put that genie back in the bottle, excuse me, because it's laying right there.
Yeah.
And the city's gonna do what they decide to do. But I'm really disappointed that the process has been upset because I think our position was to finish the RFPs and then make the best decision possible that we could make based on the information that we received over the last 2 years. And I don't know what to do now, because I still want to finish this process before we go down another lane.
Yeah. And we will finish it, and I want to finish it not with jaded, predetermined thoughts in my head, which sadly, one of the biggest players in the RFP 9 has put in my head. Because again, the inconsistency that they're showing to us. Now, Steve, to answer your question, in this summary that Darren is presenting to the city council and to us, has nothing, no mention of 2.0, because we voted it down. It's not an option, so it's not in there. I don't know if that answers your question.
The regional board is made up, again, can somebody tell me exactly who is on that board?
People that bring their trash to Middle Point.
Originally it was. Originally it
the
was.
regional board.
2 per county.
Yeah.
Okay, and then there are solid waste directors who are allowed to go onto that board as well, Mac and Joy. Joy was removed last week, okay, Joy Smith of the city, and Darren went on in his replacement representing the city. Because Joy had sent out I'm just gonna be honest with you, what happened, he sent out an agenda of the meeting that call the meeting to order, read the minutes from the last meeting, and then the next 3 items talk about the University of Alabama and how they kicked everybody's butt and won the SEC championship. And I told the mayor that was not professional in a situation like this, so he was removed and Darren went into his place. So over the course of the last week, that has been produced. But when I first got elected, okay, and the county commission had denied the core drilling of GBB, did not accept it because they wanted more money to keep going forward. And Mayor McFarland came to me and he said, we didn't have a seat at the table. Mary Esther said, we didn't have a seat at the table. It was all done by the county and they didn't want anything to do going forward, and they were not going to put more money into it. So that brought us back to square one of starting all over again. And it's brought us through the RFI, the RFP, looking at what is the best solution for our waste stream for the next 25 years. And we're almost there. And because of everything that's been blown up in the paper and everybody has an opinion on what should be done, it's going to blow everything up for the last 2.5 years. That's what's going to happen. And now the city wants us to join them, and what's on their agenda for Thursday night, which we haven't had time to read the 31 pages that they're putting forward and asking us to support. But it says, for Thursday night, it says, summary, recommended a 10-year plan document update for solid waste and materials management for Rutherford County and the city that specifically states the expansion of Middle Point Landfill is inconsistent with the future solid waste management goals and objectives of Rutherford County and the city. Before we jump to, I'm going to advise the committee that we don't jump to conclusions and jump on board with this until we feel comfortable in joining forces. We have a process, and I think we've spent a lot of time, a lot of hours down here going through this process, and we need to take a deep breath and see what's best. When I approached Republic 2 weeks ago, I asked them, you're not going to get a fair shake as long as you have that expansion request in. I ask you to remove it to give yourself an opportunity to where our members go in with an open mind, you, the remaining 3, you, Waste Management, and
Rock.
now the company out of Atlanta.
Pratt.
To where everybody gets a fair shake of what we're going to do for our solid waste stream for the next 25 years. And it's blown up like crazy, and everybody's trying to get out in front. I think we're making a serious bad mistake if we don't take a step back, sort this out, and see what's best for Rutherford County.
Okay, so let me ask you, what is the right step? Because
I don't know what the right step is.
If we do not do anything and let this date expire May 28th, then we're done. Republic has got whatever they want. They can expand whatever they want, because his body of 4 counties has put up no resistance. If we do nothing, you're basically saying, okay,
No.
you can expand. What, the GBP,
They have
you've
to
shown
go
no
back.
inconsistency.
It takes 200, what'd you say, 200?
Takes 45 days, they've got to give a reply from TDEC, takes 270 days to go through the due process before they can say yes or no.
No, before they can have a public hearing. And when I talked to Jacqueline Matupi at TDAG, she's the one that will actually host that meeting of the public hearing after the 274 days. And it will be here in Rutherford County. She'll be the host for TDAG and let the public come in, those comments, and they'll be taken back. So we're almost a year before this will occur, and we're getting ready to jump into something that I'm afraid, unless we sit back and look at the whole thing, this is denying them the first step. And what they did, they took a step, and I asked them to withdraw. They came back and said, we're going to stop and not take the step. That's how it's all come down, just in the last 10 days. He was elected last week as chairman because Joy was the chairman, and because the representative hadn't been elected yet by this board, that's how Mac became chairman.
I'm just saying, if you do nothing, you're taking it right to TDEC.
May
Right?
28th.
Right? If you do nothing, you're taking this right to
By the
TDEC.
28th, we have to do something by the 28th.
You just said, hold on, do nothing.
No.
I didn't say do nothing. We can't do it. We
You
have to
said
do
take a
something about
step back.
it. Take a deep breath.
Okay, May 28th is how many days from now?
Wait a minute. You're getting confused. Annual progress report and 10-year plan is made, the meeting's at May the 20th, due to the state by the 28th. Total separate from the expansion thing. This board will have to set a hearing date to hear their explanation before TDEC has a hearing for it.
Okay. But I guess the thing that's in my craw is,
That's before 200 something.
if your board does not say out loud to Republic that their expansion is not consistent with what we were all explained to at the GBB 2018 report, and that what we have built everything up to now for, that's inconsistent. So that inconsistency shows that you're not following the 10-year plan. That's the sentence I would like to say to their face from your committee is, we're saying no to the expansion because it's inconsistent with our 10-year plan. Can you, that's what I'm,
That still has to go to his committee.
that's what I'm saying. I want his committee to say that.
Oh,
And
Well,
this
they still have
report's
200 something days before, they have to go there before it goes to TDAC.
if you'll go back and read their contract with this county, if we do anything that shows that we are halting the operations inside that fence, they can refuse our trash the next day.
Yes, sir, they can.
Right there on the
$1 million go away. And what's your plan of where you're gonna take the trash?
We'll have to
If they
put
say
something
no.
together real quick. Now, I'm for you. I'm 100% for you. But you gotta look at this whole picture.
What happens again May 20th?
May the 20th at 6 o'clock, our board will meet, and the board is made up of 2 representatives from each of the other 3 counties. Rutherford has 3 representatives, not sure why, and 1 city representative. Murfreesboro, Woodbury, Manchester, and McMinnville are the cities with the counties. So there's 13 people total. So we will approve the minutes, and then we will discuss each individual county's plan, APR and their plan, and vote on each individual county. Now, sometimes the vote is just like it would be in here if we were from 4 different counties, and Rachel did Coffee County's report, and we're not sure that that's accurate, then we can abstain. But as long as their county votes for it, then they're okay. So there's different ways to vote on it, and you know, we've done it different ways. When we had a representative on there, she wouldn't vote positive or negative for anybody else's except ours. She wrote ours, so she knew the accuracy of ours. But that was fine. It was, anybody, y'all get that same privilege when y'all get ready to vote here on county commission level as well. But so we'll go through the process to review and approve, and we will have to come out there with an approval to send to the state. So if we've got to change something, then we'll change it right there if it's not already been changed. We've never had to do that before, but just because we haven't done it before doesn't mean it can't be done. And I've been doing a little bit of research. What you're truly concerned about is important, but it's not the only way to stop it.
Do tell.
In 68 to 11, 600 series, 700 series, and 800 series in the laws, there's a lot of things that this board can require them to do to receive that expansion.
When you say this board, are you talking about us sitting here or the board that you're on?
Central Tennessee Regional Board.
Thank you.
That's where it has some strength.
Yeah, access to get into and out of the landfill. Jefferson Pike may need to be a 5-lane road coming from 840. That'd be your access. They would have to build that, pay for that. I mean, you get in there and start reading in great detail. There's a lot of things that you can put in there. Yes, you can have the expansion, but you've got to do this first. You're talking about right-of-ways and subdivisions and new stuff, similar type deal. Sir?
You don't need to raise your hand.
If if the 10-year report, if we miss the opportunity between now and May 28th to have language in the 10-year report to give us a foundation, to give your board a foundation to allow us to go back and reflect on their expansion, does something need to be in the report by May 28th?
It would be
to give us some ammunition, give you some ammunition.
what happened in Davidson County. We talked about it last month, but we'll talk about it again just to make sure everybody remembers. 2+ years before now, when they wrote their annual progress report, they put in one of those statements, and it's probably hidden in there. We've got some stuff hidden in ours as well, that states that our goal to zero waste, which Davidson County zero is actually 85. But our goal to zero waste, we will need no new landfills and no expansion of any existing landfills. That was their language. So when Waste Management didn't have a clue that was in there. They were talking about Jackson Law and all kinds of stuff to argue their point, and were truly blindsided by this one. And that board, just like ours, doesn't meet our plan.
And what happened?
They're probably going
What
to
did Waste Management do the next day?
they got their attorneys going
And they refused trash.
the next week, yes.
Davidson County's trash.
It came here,
Yep.
the flood damage.
That was excess trash.
I mean, I understand your passion, Commissioner Chu, but I'm just telling you, me and Commissioner Piercy don't agree on a lot of things, but I'll tell you what, he actually made a great point, that we gotta be careful here, man. There's gonna be a lot of attorney fees and laws and stuff coming in here. It's way over my head. I don't have a clue. I just know that, I suggest this. Maybe we should cancel Republic's RFP. And maybe we should just relax on this a little bit, because right now I think we got some serious bias that's going to go in there. There's anger. I just feel that it's probably best that we cancel their RFP and get a later date. I just don't think that we could be objective enough. That's the wrong word. I'm just saying that there's a lot of anger right now, and I think that they have I think it would be bias against them. And I'm just suggesting.
Yeah. All right.
I mean, I just think that, we're going in there, and I guarantee this RFP is not going to be on those numbers. It's going to be on them trying to expand the landfill. And it's going to be an argument.
Only talking about Belt, right?
May 12th. Yes, sir.
This one you think about saving for discussion.
Yeah. I mean, in reality, you could you could only buy yourself a week if we flipped him with the last one on the list, or you could just push it back until June and just create a new date. So that's up to you guys.
So if you do that, then may want to take a little time to do that. There's another company that came in a day after the cutoff that had a proposal, and it's laying on Steve's desk. You could allow them to come in. Mr. Carr at Las Casas, he said on Facebook that he's talked to Brian Terry and Mayor McFarland. He's got the solution, so invite him to come and give his solution. He said they can fix it.
Could you read the summary again, Mr. Mayor, of what the city council is looking at tomorrow? It was very concise.
Thursday.
And it is a kind of an outcome of that. May I hear that again?
Yes, sir. This as a summary is to recommend a 10-year planning document update for solid waste and materials management for Rutherford County and the city that specifically states an expansion of Middle Point Landfill is inconsistent with the future solid waste management goals and objectives of Rutherford County and the city.
And if that statement were in the 10-year report, it could be a foundation for denial, but it could also be a recommendation that's not. If it's not in there, it's gone forever. If it's in there, it can be a component, or it can be.
That's how
Is it critical that it be in there, or does it stop? Does it stop you? Is it opening the door for this?
It's opening the door.
The lawsuit.
I think it opens the door for the lawsuit.
I think
I also think this. I think that we're
It's not consistent with the 10-year plan. It's rather innocuous, but if it gives us some foundation to stand on, but it's not innocuous enough to, I don't know.
So is that something?
I mean, you're asking me a question I really don't
But
know the
is
answer to.
is that something that you would even, and I'm talking hypothetically, of course, Commissioner Dodd's statement, is that something that this group can even consider on May 20th, because it's more of a budgetary meeting, correct?
No, this is not a budget.
Not?
No, it's not, no,
So it's
No
just
money in-
approving the APR?
right.
And
Now,
the 10-year plan.
here's the rub. Annual progress report is after the fact. It's calendar year 2020. All of these discussions are 2020, 21. So do you put 21 discussions in 20 calendar year? That's,
Okay, say it one more time.
I don't understand.
So you're,
the annual progress report is a calendar year report.
so you're
For
taking,
2020 is what we're approving.
so you're
Last
looking
year's.
backwards?
Yes.
Okay,
APR,
that's what had me.
but not the 10-year
Do
report.
you understand what I'm
I
saying?
do
Yeah.
now.
But not the 10-year report.
And
Okay.
your report is reported in the same calendar year.
It's looking.
And your report is looking into the future based on the same calendar year.
Well, it sounds like excuse me, Mayor, if you want to go ahead and make a comment.
you go ahead and I'll come in behind that.
Well, it seems to me that the language that Metro used, it might be pertinent for us to insert that in our 10-year plan, which we haven't read, which I want to read before I make a decision here tonight to do that, if we have to call another meeting between now and 25th.
Yeah.
I don't want to jump the gun and make a wrong decision. I want my attorney in my back pocket here advising me, and he's not sitting here on what we can do on some of this, because I'm like our two commissioners here. I've read the contract too, and we cannot impede them. If we do, we'll be looking for a place to dump trash, and not only that, you're talking about tipping fees have gone away immediately. So, there's a lot of problems there. That's why I stopped you when you made that statement a while ago, is we don't need to do that. And I'm as frustrated as anybody sitting here about them making that decision to expand without coming to us or waiting till this RFP came down. I'm frustrated with that, but I think that it might be in our best interest to have a 10-year plan that has a statement in there like that. And we've been pretty consistent and clear that we don't want to expand a landfill in this county and continue taking trash outside this county. That's me. Now, I can work with these guys about trash here in this county without bringing more in, you know, I can work with them or anybody else. But I'm not gonna bend over and say, hey, just keep on bringing it from all over the state, bring whatever you want in here. That's not gonna happen as far as I'm concerned. But that's my thoughts on that. You know, if we have to call another special meeting after we get this information that Rachel's sending us, and maybe Mac has something put together for us on a 10-year plan.
Darren and I have been on cell phones and computer all last week, Darren Gore. And so I was sending him, you know, this is what I want. So there's a way you can go in there and capture and export the whole document. It's small print, it's hard to read, and I've done that, and I'll make sure I get you the updated version, and I send it to Rachel, and then she can send all of you.
So if he calls a special meeting, you'll present it.
I can, but what
I would like you to present it to us.
What I was suggesting is just send it to you so you could read through it, because
Before the meeting, before.
Yeah, but I'd like you
What
to
I-
present it, because, I mean, I understand, but also he knows a whole lot more things than I know.
but what I was going to do is send it to her so y'all can, hopefully you can have it tomorrow. That's what my intent. Now,
Is this your 10-year plan, or is this what, or is this one and the same, what
We want
Murfreesboro
to see
City's
both.
looking at?
Both
it's the same.
Both are
We write it together.
But is this a template that Mike is suggesting you, and Darren are suggesting you use, and you've got just
I
the,
haven't seen
He hadn't
it.
seen it.
get them out to us,
But
Mr.
I will say the 10-year plan has to use current data. We can't go back 2, 5, 6, 10 years ago. It has to be current data. Would you agree, Matt? Okay.
Now, the other thing that I need to make a phone call before, because it's contradictory. You know, you're dealing with some state laws and judge stuff that's contradictory. The 10-year plan through the APR can be changed at any time. The APR is only available for us to open up and do any entries from January through March. So how do you update it any time? Reason where I'm going with it is, I think Commissioner Harris understood, you know, calendar year 2020. We're already in 21. So if they will open up the 21 report, we can go ahead and start populating that with anything y'all want in it. Now it's going to be after the fact of their expansion request. You understand where I'm going with it?
I'm just wondering, so can you present two reports?
No, the 2021 wouldn't be due to the state until March of 2022.
So,
They can read it, if whatever we got in there, but it's never been done that way.
Be irrelevant.
I got a comment. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You were on the Zoom committee with Republic, were you not? You weren't. Mac, you were. Was it yesterday, the day before? Was it yesterday?
with state legislators?
Not, yeah, with the state legislators.
Monday.
It was Monday? I guess it was. Okay, so there was a Zoom meeting with state legislators. Brian Terry was there, oh, of course, all of our, I guess, I remember seeing Don White and Shane, they were all there Zooming in. And Mayor McFarland came on and said that he and his council were prepared to step away from the contract and start paying for their trash. It's free right now. That bothers me without reading this, and if we join forces with them and they decide to go ahead and jump out here Thursday night and drag us into it, I'm telling you guys, we don't have that money budgeted. I don't know where we come up with the money to plan on it. You know where we get the money if we start paying tomorrow?
No, not without violating some of our rules on what we've got stashed away.
Well, I'm not sure we've got that kind of money.
I don't think we do either, not that much.
So I just ask.
I mean, presently, we're about $18 million over budget. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, sir, we started out this year 9 upside down. We're 18 at this point. We don't have, I'm sorry, this has been a COVID year and we lost money on hotel motel. We lost money on restaurants. And to come in and put us in a position like this without our attorney, I'm with you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not ready to, I can't advise you to do this. At this point, let's take a step back and let's regroup and figure out let's make a good business decision.
I would like Rachel to send this out to everybody, and I would like to see what Mac has, and then we can call a meeting and he can walk us through it. If you want Darren to come and walk through his version, he can do that, or Mac can do it for both of them. It doesn't matter to me. But we need to fully understand what it is. I saw it as an opportunity to give verbiage either by text or by full support from council and or commission to Mac's committee that, look, in spite of the fact that if we cause them business harm, they can just say, hey, the deal's off. But we can't just lay down and let them walk all over us. Can't do that. That if you say it, that you're inconsistent with our plan, then that gives them grounds. I keep saying that, but I'm gonna keep saying it till somebody agrees. If you're saying something now that's inconsistent with what you said a few years ago, and which is what got us all here, then we have a right to turn you down.
I agree with you 100%. But look back at Davidson County, theirs was in there before the expansion ever came out. Ours is going in after.
Yes.
Well, legally, we can still do it.
Yes, but
Right.
we'll probably wind up in court. But
We might wind up in court anyway, right?
If you're picking on something like that, pick on their tipping fees.
Well, yeah, why don't we?
It's never been audited. Never.
Yeah.
You know,
Why don't we get more for?
if you're not
Yeah.
playing fair,
Yeah.
there's a breach of your contract.
Yeah.
But we've got to be sure, because we'll be sitting here with garbage up here on the courthouse lawn, and 33 counties will still be dumping out at Walter Hill.
Yeah.
So you got to be sure. Got to be. And Matt Farland would have a different idea if the landfill was over here on Memorial and wasn't in Walter Hill. He wouldn't be as quick to jump.
We'll get out of the weeds and get back on the main road. I want to apologize. Sort of. I'm not really sorry, but I'm passionate.
I get your point. I'm sorry.
Not sorry. I'm passionate about this. We all at this table are passionate about this. We've been doing this for ever. We've seen and stomached and heard about all we can stand, and we're getting so close to the. We're at least in the third quarter, right? And for some of the shenanigans that are going on, it just really upsets me. Period.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
and I love the way you apologize. But something I want to point out to you, there's two of us up here that argued this point several years ago. Will Jordan was the third.
And Charlie Long.
And Charlie Long, so there was four of us. And don't think that we're not thinking alike. We are, because we're the ones at that time that sent a shockwave to them when we had 21 of us say, no, we're not going to do this. And what this is all about is their management. It's they've made a mistake here asking for this at this time. They've made a mistake for the last 15, 20 years of letting this county smell bad. They don't have to, it doesn't have to smell that bad. I mean, I've been out to San Jose to their facility there, and it doesn't smell like that. And there actually have been citizens that brought lawsuits against them there and won, and they had to mitigate that smell. And, that's something that could happen here.
Yeah.
And maybe needs to happen here if they do not take responsibility and take care of their problems. And it's their problem.
Right.
And every one of us, like you said, we're just as passionate as you are here. I just want to be cautious and make sure we are making the right steps. Now, I'll repeat again, I'm willing to work with these guys, and I've got an open mind. I don't mind talking with them on the 12th and I think that's one we've got
Yeah.
scheduled to do that. I'll keep an open mind on that. But it's gonna, when I make a decision on who is gonna take care of our trash in the future, it's gonna be because I feel like that's best for our constituents in our
Amen.
county.
Amen.
Not because it's best for Republic or whoever we decide to work with.
All right. I totally agree. And I'm all for keeping the date as it is. They've probably made reservations, played in reservations. I'm fine with keeping it. I've vented. I'm good. I'm a grown man. I'm a professional. I will listen to them. I will ask intelligent questions to them.
Are you a superstar?
I'm not a superstar. I'm a man of many faults. I'm a man of many faults. Just kidding. But, you know, they may be our answer. They may be our answer.
It could be, you know, I've had people look at me and you know, citizens that I represent and say, well, why would you work with these guys? And I said, I'll work with anybody, but what you got to keep in mind is we're going to be the ones making the decision on how this relationship is going to be.
Yeah.
Not somebody else, it'll be us 21.
Right. Yeah. I just want everybody to know, everybody being the residents and the voters of this county, that none of us are going to take this land down. Right? We're not going to get walked over. We're not going to get pushed around. That if Republic winds up being a player, the player, a minor player, it's because they had the best technology and the best solution for the citizens. Not for me. No. It ain't for me. Trust me, it ain't for me. So, thank you all. Let's just keep, if you don't mind, Craig, let's just keep
No,
the
I
date.
just want to make sure that we all have an open mind. There's a lot of motion going on right now.
I'm clear-headed.
Yeah, and that's the only thing is just listen to them out. I mean, you know, nobody got railroaded or blindsided as much as me. And I mean, I was just as, you know, me and Commissioner Piercy talked about it. And, you know, one of my things is the two things that everybody complains about, smell and people bringing in trash. That's the two biggest things. And I talked to them about smell because I can't walk my dog without somebody coming at me on it. And to my understanding, Jeremy has been let go, and they had brought in a new guy who's an odor specialist and an additional $4 million. That's what I was told. So I think they're trying to work with us, but I'd rather postpone it and let cooler heads prevail, or let's go and just keep an open mind. That's all I ask, to be professional. Every one of us keep an open mind and listen and hear what they got to say, just like Waste Management or anybody else.
I had a guy email me first, and then we talked by phone. He came by the office today. Supposed to be, it was a 12:30 meeting. We got done at 2:30, and he's with a nationwide company that did not turn in an RFP or an RFI. They at that time were not interested in this area, but since we started with RFIs, they have some business in this area. So he said, "Are we too late to the dance?" And I explained to him, and maybe I'm wrong. And if I'm wrong, please tell me I'm wrong. I said the RFP and RFI process is proposals. Get people in here to explain what you have, what wares you have that we may be able to buy to get us where we need to be. But at the same time, it should always open us up to opportunities to reach out that you've got something we hadn't heard from. Come talk to us. Am I wrong?
I'm totally behind that, you know, if the RFP was to set a date to where we could at least have some date specific to where everybody got their stuff in. Not that it was an actual true hard bid like goes to purchasing, but if somebody else, like Steve, they were a day late, and I told them, no sir, the committee probably won't accept it. But if there's other people out there, I think we should be open-minded to it. If there's somebody else got another way of doing it, and that's the way we want to go, then we should be open to that.
I think legal needs to give us the thumbs up or thumbs down before we say that.
Okay, but I just, you know, that's my personal opinion. Now, legal may say that's inaccurate, but he was interested in doing something that we want done. So.
It was a week behind anyway because of the snow, remember?
Yeah,
And then
put it off.
Then we put it off, and then this one come in, actually, I think it was like a week after that. So it was like 2 weeks total behind, but they were. I read through it, they got a pretty good idea, but I mean, you came in late,
Yeah.
and we can't accept you, and I hope you understand that, and they said they did, but if we rebid, they would love to know and like to get.
I just want legal's blessing that we're not opening ourselves up for
Give me check that out.
one of the 9 to say, hey, that's not fair, we're suing you.
Do you need any motions or anything to that?
I don't think so. We'll take that under advisement until we get approval from legal. All right, Mac, we derailed a little bit.
Okay, it's
Sorry.
all solid waste
I'm
issues.
sorry.
You have the landfill report. You can see that, $4,900 is the revenue that came in. And remember, that's brush and some tires. Most of the tires are not listed on here. Most of that's just gonna be the brush. And if you flip on past the numbered report, I want you to see the letter. Actually, it's just addressed to Mayor Catherine, but it's the financial assurance piece. We've spoken about that. TDEC asked us to separate the 2 landfills that had always been together and to put them into 2. Now it's time to actually send in the financial assurance. So we need to do a vote on it to where we can send that to them. But it's broken into 2 sections. So if you'll flip to the latter pages, the demolition landfill, which is the C&D landfill, is just a little less than $750,000.
What page are you on? Well, you're not the same sync as us, so never mind.
He's on
Second
Page
page,
3.
5 of 22 is the letter, and then,
5 of 22 is where it starts.
yeah.
Okay.
So you've got the first page of the letter, and then you got the graph at the top, and then you got the third page. Middle of the page is $725,419. The financial assurance for the C&D site. And then 2 more pages is $1,197,350 for the closed supposedly sanitary landfill site, which is cheaper than what we've had in the past.
The 2 of them combined is cheaper than what we had in the past. Okay.
The 2 combined or less?
No, it should be less every year.
It goes down.
Yeah.
Their assumption is it's another year older, so you're closer to getting out of it.
Or at least we've historically reduced it every year.
Right.
so that's-
And the state's assumption was the state got hung with the landfill. Private company went out and they had to do all that, so that's the reason they want to separate it out. Their assumption was ours was going to go up. But Triad's the one that pulled all the numbers together for them and all that kind of stuff, and ours is actually just a little bit less than what it had been.
And this is an assurance, is it a bond or
It's an
cash?
assurance,
Like
no, it's-
LLC, just we
It's-
stand behind this commitment to.
promissory note.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
Well,
what it
this
is.
is nothing we've ever financed, though. This is something just sitting there saying, yeah, we know we're responsible for
We
this, but
pledge
there is
it.
no funding in place to cover this.
That is correct.
It has to be unfunded if it hits, we just have to pay it.
Well, the solid waste has fund balance and has
Yeah.
enough to cover that,
Right.
but it's,
But we don't want to depend on it.
Is it on Lisa's books as an obligation because it's an assurity, just like an insurance?
Yes,
I would think so.
Bonding?
yes, we did them last year. We did last year.
I'm sorry, I'm confused. Are we on the hook for the 725,000
But we don't have to pay.
In the
No.
million.
or the $10,000 premium? Is it a $10,000 premium we pay?
we don't pay anything.
Pay.
We're just telling the state, we're promising the state is if we quit taking care of our landfill, those 2 amounts of money is set aside for the state to take over and finish.
Okay,
Gotcha.
okay.
Under my signature.
And
Thank you.
I'm going to make a motion to approve because as we led up to this, the numbers are the same, the 7 and the 1. And I would like you to help. I understand the concept and I agree with, I think we agree.
I second.
Okay.
So are we approving what's the motion?
The motion is to approve the
Financial
2
assurance.
values
Okay,
and that we'll pledge that we'll pay that if we bail.
We promise.
It's a contract obligation.
So I guess even though it might be monopoly money, we should do a roll call.
Yes. Commissioner Harris?
yes.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Sherrill?
Yes.
Commissioner Blair?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Chairman Kush?
Yes.
Motion passes.
And then after that is the bills that we paid at the landfill.
Can you tell us about the Lachey break? Give us an update on that.
Okay. We had the leachate outbreak. We still have it maintained and under control. We're still pumping on it. We're in the process of ordering the pipe. What we'll do is order a 24-inch diameter, 20-foot long pipe that's corrugated, but it will be perforated for 2/3 of the pipe to where it would allow, we're going to stick it down in the hole, put rock around it, so it'll allow the leachate to be collected inside the pipe so we can pump. So the leachate holes that we currently have open are not where the pipes are going to be put. But we're trying to get the leachate holes pumped down and then dig the new location. Both of them need to be moved to a little bit higher elevation. But what my fear, and the state understands my fear, is if we still have leachate present in this lower hole and we dig up here, we may create a vent and make it flood into that hole. So we're trying to get it pumped down to where we possibly don't have an issue.
This rain's really helping you,
Oh,
Tom.
Lord, I got 3 inches at my house yesterday.
And no telling what we're gonna get tonight.
Sounds a gallon, that's a lot. I'm sorry.
That,
Yeah, I'm trying to, my question is, I've kind of been looking into this. So Lachey, do we not pump that to Republic?
we have one well that does, yes.
Have we been doing that, or is
We
that,
do.
would that stop this
We're-
from happening?
We're in 2 different parts of the landfill.
Okay,
Now, yeah, to answer your question, yes, we still pump usually every week, but it's less than 1,000 gallons a month. So they're set up in our budget, there's a $1,000 line item to pay. If they charge us, they have never charged us to treat our leachate. But they don't want this other. That's one thing the state asked me was, can you pump into that well and then drain it over there? They don't want that. They've got enough leachate on their own. They can deal with our 1,000 gallons or less a month, but they don't want the rest of ours. Any other questions on the landfill? Convenience centers have been staying busy. Usually the rain slows people down, but it can only slow them down for so long. They're going to bring it eventually anyway. And some good news, I hired a driver today. He starts on the 19th.
Excellent.
I have one more question.
Yes, sir.
The trash that's in our landfill currently, how much does that trash come from our convenience centers?
You talking about that goes to Republic?
No, I'm talking about the ones that we
The
got
closed
buried right now in the closed one. How much of that is come from our convenience centers and municipal waste?
It would have, Middle Point was open about the time the centers were open. I was actually a driver for BF at the time, and we hauled the centers, and this would have been in 1990, and they dumped at Middle Point. Now, anything before Middle Point opened probably went in. The school system's trash went in there. Nissan was already in place before Middle Point opened. There's a lot of businesses that were here at the time that not here anymore that all would have gone to our landfill, our county landfill.
Pre-mining?
Now, that's back when we had canisters sitting all over the county and they picked them up with a front end dump.
That's correct.
Before the convenience centers.
Yes.
They were everywhere.
Right,
But we had one we maintained for the community.
The state calls those green boxes, and there's only one county in the state that still does it that way.
And so that would have been
Convenience centers
county
is-
trash too.
Right, you're right.
The question is it's, most of that landfill is closed, came from Rutherford County.
Yes, I would,
Okay.
I would guess, I wasn't here then, but yes, it would be Rutherford County entities and residents trash, yes.
Okay.
The city had two locations. One where the new fire hall is on Medical Center. It didn't last long. It was right there on the river. And then they moved up and went to Roger Havey, had some property where the pond is, right behind off Medical Center Parkway where people get married. That was another landfill that the city had.
That was closed in 1974. So West College, you go under the railroad bridge, you come up the other side, it's right on your left.
Broad Street, trying forward.
That thing burning pipes too, don't it?
Yeah. Yeah, they're still dealing with leachate methane after all these years.
Are those Doug's kind of contract?
Gyroscopes on.
Rich.
That's all I have, unless you have questions.
Motion to approve the report.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Do we need to set a date for the meeting, future meeting, for your discussion of this and Mac's 10-year report?
We have, hold on, yeah, just a reminder, May 12th, we have Republic, May 18th, we have Waste Management, May 19th, we have Pratt Recycling, and then I believe May 26th, we have kind of a conclusion, and then perhaps talk about a short list, unless we want to add, unless legal says it's okay, and if we want to invite anybody for discussion, we may push that, our conclusion back a week or two. So, do we want to fit a 10-year discussion in between? Let's see, today is the 4th, 5th. Do we have any openings? Well, you just tell me when we have openings. It's probably easier.
Well, let me.
Fridays, but other than that, it's
budget time.
yeah, it's budget time. There's lots of days booked.
What's on the 25th?
Budget. That's that joint health and ed.
That's right.
Yes.
The 26th?
That's school board.
That's the date that we've set. It's something I want to point out, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
When we agreed that date on the 26th, we still had the Zoom in place, and I'm going to be out of place on the 26th, so I won't be able to make a meeting on the 26th.
Can we chat with, if we move it back, and if we go back in the other room, can you still Zoom?
Zoom.
No.
Zoom is not allowed by the
You
state.
can Zoom, you just can't participate.
Right.
Is
I mean, I
that,
could-
did we
I could-
decide that?
Actually talked to Cody today and said that, matter of fact, I sent it to Jeff Phillips. He asked the same thing about last night. And talked to the comptroller. Comptroller says that we can't Zoom to let anybody participate, or if they can go on RCTV, or they can go on YouTube and watch us.
Okay.
So the governor's pulled the,
Yeah,
Option, yeah.
Public Chapter 16 was eliminated.
All right. So that chapter's over.
Yes, sir.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes, sir.
Let me, 10-year plan, TDEC survey, APR. That's just 3 of multi-sections. The recycling report and that kind of stuff, I don't think, that's not important for these discussions. It is important, but it doesn't affect the discussions that we're having. So let me do those exports and send those to Rachel. She can send those out tomorrow. That way you have an opportunity to look at what is currently in there and see what you think. It may be enough that we don't need another meeting. I don't know. I'm just suggesting.
I mean, I want to know. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I don't have a clue.
complexity of it.
It's, yes, and and Mr. Chairman, I suggest we have the meeting.
I would like a meeting.
Yeah.
Mainly because his group is more powerful than I had realized, and I just want to make sure I understand it.
Well,
So let's pick a date if we
Let
can.
me give you a little
It's on the 10th.
emphasis for that.
Okay.
We mentioned odor earlier, that nobody can do anything about the odor. This will put them.
Yeah. Yeah.
June. Planning Commission is meeting at 6 o'clock tonight.
Thank you. Excuse me, Matt.
What's on the 27th of May?
I'm going to be out of town from the 26th through the 31st. I mean,
27th is
me-
property management.
What was the 13th of May?
Commission,
Yeah, it's a full commission.
24th?
What about the Wednesday before that commission? meeting?
Public safety is the
That's
24th.
the 12th though.
Yeah. Fridays are,
18th.
are the only thing open.
18th, we already have waste management.
18th, we
right?
got,
Waste management.
yeah, waste management. May is
Full.
bad, yeah.
What is May 17th?
Budget.
Budget. Thank you.
I don't see that on my schedule. It sets up a normal meeting.
Budget meeting.
Budget is May 6th and May
Yeah.
25th.
May 17th starts the general fund,
Yeah,
circuit court,
general
circuit
fund, yeah.
judge, general sessions, drug court.
They're presented to the budget committee, Sonia. I had that
This
on
is like
my
highlighted. but it's
meeting,
taken.
Robert.
Look at every- I mean, there's-
She just sent it to me, and it's not on this one, so I've got to get mine updated again, I guess.
Right.
I mean, here it is.
Yeah.
But 17th's not on there, so it's possible a day.
What's June 1st?
Well, I have it on mine from
June.
what she sent me, the 17th is budget, so.
June
Okay.
1st is budget reviews for general public, the school fund.
June 1st? So we really don't have anything open.
It's gotta be a Friday
Unless you
to be a
want to do a
or a
Friday.
Saturday. And I know you don't wanna do either one, but
I'm all right with
I
Friday.
can do Friday.
Friday would work.
I'm always here on Friday night doing, finishing up anyway, so I'm good with Friday.
Oh, God, I hate Fridays, but I'll go. How about May?
What is your Friday like?
I'm good, let's have
I
it,
mean,
because I want the mayor to come.
can you do like the middle of the afternoon, or does it have to be after 5?
5:30.
After Mexican leave.
Order pizza.
Order pizza.
Grill,
Do
pizza
Friday,
and
so
crumble
What
cookies.
Friday?
Solid waste doesn't have a food.
So
I
we're
mean,
talking about the
all the
14th?
All the Fridays are open,
today.
okay.
We're talking about the
Y'all-
14th?
Well, his Friday's not
hey,
open
Mayor.
on the 26th, to
Max
the
is
31st, so
30th.
he would not,
28th is out for me.
yeah. But,
On in during
I
the
mean, the 15th, the 22nd, I'm sorry,
14th.
14th or 22nd.
21st.
21st.
Friday.
Oh, we already said it.
21st, Lisa and I will be gone.
Okay, so that's
Let's
out.
make it the 14th then.
Friday at 2:30.
5:30.
It has to be posted.
Oh, driving the bus.
I won't be here the 14th.
14th Friday. Let's take a chance on them getting us the material and us maybe reading it and do a discussion on it maybe after the lease of the next 3 we've got scheduled.
Awesome.
One night, work it in, you know. Have your
What
crystal
do you
before
think?
you come.
Well, that's a great
Spend
question.
the extra 30 minutes.
How long do you think it would take to explain your 10-year plan?
If y'all have read it previously, it won't take a long time
9
to be
years.
answered, but
Is that cat ears? Dog ears?
I just
June
thought
the
that.
17th.
So put it, we're gonna put it on an agenda of a meeting we already got planned. Good idea.
Yeah,
It's a
at the
super
end.
idea.
Settles it,
Yeah,
yeah.
and just be done with it.
All the way through the 26th.
Yeah.
Have to.
I mean,
But what I would, the reason I really emphasize send it to you so you could read it, I've tried to explain why it's written the way it's written. And I think once you read it, you'll understand why we wrote it that way.
Okay.
And it's up to us to
Okay.
absorb it as best
Right.
we can.
Well, and you know, we can try, and it's not real technical. I promise you, it's not real technical. I wrote it, so it's not technical. You know, but it's trying to explain the possibilities of things that we would want to look for and be prepared to do in the future. Now, one thing, and Commissioner Piercy brought it up, one thing that is absent, there is no not. There is not a single, we are not going to. There's not any.
Strategically.
All right. The 19th, Pratt.
This Pratt's a little smaller.
Yeah, Pratt has not checked all the boxes, because Pratt got bumped from earlier in the process to the end, right? I don't think Pratt has checked all the
They're
boxes.
smaller.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
and
smaller.
what they want to do.
So maybe May 19th, after Pratt, we spend an hour.
Pratt has a presence in Nashville, and they have a huge plant in Conyers, Georgia. We have actually been there to visit that when we started this process. It's a fairly new plant, really nice, and a lot of good things about going to visit other people's stuff. As you learn what not to
The
do.
attachment that looks
Their,
really right, but on
their
the phone,
tipping
it
floor
doesn't- it never
was
looks
designed for one truck at a time on a huge facility. So they were in the process of expanding at the time they were doing it. But you know, that's what they would probably, I've not read their stuff, but that's more likely what they're gonna talk about is how to help us recycle.
All right, anything else, gentlemen?
Motion to adjourn.
Rachel, anything you want to add? Thank you all, meeting adjourned.